Happy Sunday. What's up, my friends? We are here. We're live. We're ready for some action. We've got some London football this morning in about 26 minutes. So we're going to dive into the pre-lock London show, and then we're going to slide over to main slate. I popped this on. My boy Beastie, I'm sure he was not prepared, but I'm sure he's also prepared because I've seen that freaking notebook that he posts. And the guy's got 50 pages of notes each and every week for all things football, all things DFS. True Pros Pro. I appreciate him very much. Speaking of the handsome man over there, what's up, my man?
Good morning. You know what? While that intro was playing, I'm trying to think. I always feel like I need to have something, worthwhile, right? Something we can sink our teeth into from like a philosophical point of view. And then I came to the conclusion, not really. Don't have to always be on. If you're out broadcasting and you're talking to folks, whether you're alone or with a fantastic partner like yourself, sometimes you just can be yourself. I'm just Chris. I'm just Detroit Beastie. But I will say, in all that melee as we were, prepping to go live, I thought, you know what? I still, at this moment in time too, maybe not the second or third cup of coffee, but I still get nervous to do all this stuff, talking in a camera with a microphone, with a camera here. And again, the longer you do this, the more reps you get, as people say. I mean, you can kind of work some stuff out on the fly. Like I know this like the back of my hand. Any question that's tossed to me, I can handle. But broken down to its simplest form, I very much enjoy this, and I get nervous. And to be fair, I wouldn't want it any other way, because the morning I come on here with you or anybody else and I'm just ho-hum and I'm boring, then that's the day I'm going to walk away. But right now I am nervous in a good way. It's different than having to go to court in front of a judge nervous.
Yeah.
But we're nervous here because it's so fantastic and the chat's going nuts already. I mean, this is no place I'd rather be.
Before the stream, there might have been 25 messages before we even got on air today. And that's freaking amazing. I love that stuff. Well, what's up, chat? Good to see you. Good morning. Posted 2 links in the YouTube chatter box, and then I pinned them at the top of the chat. They are the links to both the contents sites that we'll be using today. So we've got the teamriseorfall.com site, and I'll be using all things Study Hub, looking at some of the tools, projections, ownerships, ratings, all sorts of stats and data models. I'm looking right now. I've got Sunday morning filtered so I can look at all the different information for Jacksonville and Miami and all sorts of things, right? You all know that. You're probably using it already. If you're not using Sparry, the other thing I'll pop up here is the betting model. This is a 10,000 simulations model. 10,000 sims are all the rage these days. So we've got our own 10,000 sims model. We've been doing it since last fall, went live 5 months ago, and it's over there. It's at mysparry.com. But honestly, I posted the link. It's a direct link where you can just grab it on the Sparry landing page on Patreon, and you just grab it. And what you do is you drop the $19.99 there for a month, and it gives you the 10,000 sims model for NFL, MLB, and NBA. And if you want to know how it's doing, I've been posting it on Twitter. You can go look at those photos, but they've got this graded bet system. So it triggers grades based on the bet and the edge over the Vegas, maybe money line or total or spread. The graded bets on the season are 61 and 33, which is 64.9% win rate. And then just using a single $10 unit and then scaling up by 1.25, and 1.5 based on a C, B, or A grade, you're up plus 32.4 units if you just blindly are playing the grades. Plus 32.4 units. That's pretty dope. So those two links I posted right there in chat. I figured you guys might want to check them out. And I know we ended up getting, 600-700 people watch this by the time this is over. So now you have it in the beginning of stream. And also, the one other thing I'm supposed to tell you, this is what everybody tells me I'm supposed to be doing every Sunday, and I never do it correctly. You got to put all your stuff in the beginning, and you ask people to hit the like button for us. So smash that like button. That's the phrase all the YouTubers use. This old Twitch dog just learning all the YouTube tricks. Smash the like button, hit that subscribe bell and a subscribe button, and turn on your notification bell. Boom. I just nailed all the YouTube stuff. All right, looking at the game flow and the opponent's yards and yards allowed today, looks like we're going to have an interesting game. Two teams that are totally the same, it looks like. They give up virtually the same amount of passing yards per game, 286.6, 288.6 rushing yards, very similar. So by the way, I had all that stuff up on my screen. Of course, I wasn't showing it because of course, I'm just not a YouTuber. I got to get used to doing all this stuff. So anyways, all this stuff I was just talking about, it's on the screen for you. Yeah, I'm going to show you throughout the stream. I promise you. 286 yards per game through the air for Jacksonville. Miami gives up 288 yards per game. Both defenses give up a bunch of rushing yards. To be honest, Chris, the defenses are just bad. They're two defenses that just suck. Over 400 yards per game. Both defenses giving up over 30 points per game. I think this could be one of those games. While the implied total of Miami at 25.25 and Jacksonville 21.75 could be one of those sloppy, terrible games we send over to London, which seems like often. And it's going to end up, 55, 60 points in some type of shootout. And, maybe with Jacoby Brissett back on the bench and Tua Tagovailoa out there leading the offense, maybe we see some fireworks. What do you think?
I'm going to shy away from Tua putting up this big explosion of points. As you said, London is always, it's wacky, it's wild. It's 9:30 Eastern time for both of us. East Coasters, they probably have to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to watch this game. And as you said, Miami at Jacksonville, aside from the Tua news and it being in London, I mean, there's a lot to love in this one because as it stands, we're about 20 minutes away from kickoff here. So as a football fan, man, woman, child, dog, cat, whatever, we can settle in and we're going to get almost 12, 13 hours straight of football. 9:30, and then you get the 1 o'clock games, and then you get the 4 o'clock games, and then we get Sunday night football. So from a football fan perspective, there's nothing better than waking up this early in the morning to watch football. In terms of the game, I know the over-under, it opened at about 45.5 points here. It's been bumped up to 47. Jacksonville's getting the points. And then from a DFS perspective, when it comes to single game slates, I say this in all my single game videos that you so happily and humbly produce for me and publish for me. I like to grab those just off the radar guys and see what we can get. On the Miami side of things, I think this game, it might be some sort of Mike Gesicki, Jalen Waddle type of game. And then on the Jacksonville side of things, I just have the sneaking suspicion that Jamal Agnew is going to be, some sort of game plan here, manufactured plays, screen behind the line of scrimmage, something like that. So to me, the wilder off the wall, the better, especially for a London game, Mitch.
Yeah, I can see some of those things happening. I am slightly worried about maybe some rust for Miami with Tua being back. I'm not too sure how the ribs are doing. They were fractured, multiple fractured ribs. So I'm assuming he's going to have the old body armor you see, right? That flak jacket they have those quarterbacks wear after rib injuries. And we've
Bulletproof
seen some
vest.
quarterbacks really struggle to get used to that over the years. I mean, it is a tale as old as time, my friend. When you guys see those injured quarterbacks from the rib injuries come back with that massive vest on, it's like their throwing motion is all sorts of jacked up. Now, I will say the edge model, the betting model, 10,000 Sims was run last night, I believe, before we had the Tua news. I have not had a chance to see if we've updated it this morning. I've been busy preparing for the show. But the total for that game, actually, Sparry had him at 45 points. So what that means is over 10,000 simulations, the average score was 45 points. If you look at the average, Miami, and I believe this is with Brissett on our quarterback, had been scoring 20 on average and 25 for Jacksonville. It looked like Jacksonville was about to get their first win of the season based on the model. I have no clue now. I'll have to wait for the alert. There's an alert in Discord whenever the model gets updated. So we won't use that one for this game specifically. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different. This is something I used to do back in the day. People loved this. So they used to like seeing where was my exposures and where was my money going for the day. Now, I did this for the Thursday night slate. I did this live on stream on Thursday. I actually showed everybody how I made my player pool. I showed everyone what I did with my rules and my groups. And then I crunched out. I showed all my exposures. I uploaded it into DraftKings. I uploaded it into Yahoo. I took second place on Yahoo that day, returned $1,000. I took first place on DraftKings in one of the mini maxes, chopped it with like 20 people for, plus 94 bucks. And I'm doing it again right now. I figured, what the heck? Why not? It went so well on Thursday. It's something people have always loved is when they kind of just watch how I put these things together. And I'm going to do that right now. So the goal, my friends, is if any of these players down here, Marvin Jones, Mike Gesicki, Laviska Shenault, Jalen Waddle, these four wide receivers end up being in my captain spot here on DraftKings. What I want to happen is that if I believe a pass catcher is good enough to be the stone cold nuts for the day. All right. That means they're likely going to have a couple touchdowns or over 100 yards and a touchdown, a bunch of catches. And if that happens, that means I have a floor from one of my quarterbacks of plus 100 yards and a touchdown, or plus 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So my goal here is to take these four, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I waited to do it live for you. So I'm going to go to groups, and this is not it. These are by the way, this is my captain groups I made for the stream that I took first place in. So here you go. So what I did is I'll show you. I took the wide receivers. I keyed them in so that it says anytime Chris Godwin was a captain, Tom Brady would be used, so on and so forth. Same with Devonta Smith. So I'm going to do it live for you right now for this game. So here we go. I'm going to plug in Jalen Waddle. I'm going to plug in Marvin Jones. Oh, actually, let me do Miami. So I need Gesicki, captain. So anytime either of these two pass catchers are used in the captain spot, I'm going to make sure that I have Tua Tagovailoa here in this spot. All right. So if Waddle or Gesicki is the captain, Tua will get crammed in there as a flex option, because I believe that if one of these guys goes bonkers, the quarterback's going to have a decent amount of points as well. So let's go ahead and we'll look at the Jacksonville side, because I have a couple more pass catchers. So we've got Marvin Jones, captain, Laviska Shenault, captain. I believe that's it. All right. And I'm going to plug in Trevor Lawrence. There we go. I've got my captain groups. I've got both wide receivers on both sides. And I would do something like this. I would crunch my 150. And this is legitimately it. I've set up my pool. I've got all my players that I want in each spot. Everybody, including some of these guys you mentioned, Jamal Agnew, Albert Wilson, who I also left in there as well. I dropped them down to 5% global cap. So I capped them at 5%. I capped my kickers as well at 10% because I don't care about them. They're way overrated for showdown slates because their prices are jacked up these days. And when I look at this, I see one egregious error, in my opinion, is just looking at the fact that James Robinson is only in there at 1%. But then when I look at his salary and I see that he is $2,000 more than Tua, he's $1,200 more than Trevor, and he's almost double. Well, he's $6,000-7,000 more than some of these other players. I see why. My projection, while he is solid, 24.51 here at the captain spot, he is so expensive, and your lineup just looks kind of funky if you plug him in there. There's already not enough talent or money there to do it. So what I'm going to do now I'm going to do it live because transparency. And I know we didn't talk about this or plan this, Chris, but I wanted to give your little rundown of what you thought of the game. And then honestly, I just wanted to dive in the main slate, and I figured I'll show them what I'm doing here. So sliding over to DraftKings, go right to my lineups. You guys like transparency? Let's do it right now, man. I'm going to click edit entries. I'm going to download. I've got these 3 different types of things I've entered today: classic, showdown, and tiers. I'm playing them all. I'm going to grab this. Got 150 lineups in there today. I'm going to copy and paste the lineups you watch me just make live, and they're going in there. Can we get back-to-back binks while doing this? That's the question. And we're good. So
I like
how
how
rock and roll. I've got my lineups made for the day, and I'm ready to go. Now, let's go, man. Let's talk some main slate. Let's talk about what matters. London out of the way. We're freaking doing main slate, and we've got 10 games today. And inside our 10 games, I think we actually have some really exciting football. I think it's going to be one of those days, truly, where it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be a volatile day. You don't have a lot of strong, significant reads on the slate. There's not a lot of games where you're like, yep, that's a shootout right there. I think it's going to be awesome. Any of the games that have that sort of shootout appeal, everyone's already talking about. So there's a lot of different angles to approach this. And how do you want to approach? And I want to start with the very first game here, and it's going to be an interesting one. It's Arizona and Cleveland. We have Arizona and Cleveland. And let me go to the edge report first. So we've got some issues with this game too. Nick Chubb is out. The weather, apparently it's really strong winds out there in Cleveland. Not supposed to be good. Our dude CG out there just holding down the fort, and then out there in Cleveland. And then the last part is that who is it? Kingsbury, and I think 2 other coaches are out with the COVID protocol. So they are actually missing 3 of their top 4 or 5 coaching staff members, and including their head coach on the sideline. Now, we saw this happen, I believe, was it the Saints earlier this year, Chris? Maybe you remember. I think it might have been week 1. They had no Sean Payton, and they got wrecked. They got absolutely wrecked. Oh, no, they couldn't have been week 1. Saints went bonkers. There was a head coach in week 1, I remember, that was out, I believe. And we just couldn't tell on how that was going to impact the team. And I thought the team got absolutely wrecked. How do you see this playing out? Are you concerned at all about the Arizona game now, who Sparry has as minus 257 favorites? Not a graded edge bet, but definitely are looking solid in the model here. So how do you perceive? By the way, they are an A grade for the spread, coming in as 3.5-point underdogs based on Vegas consensus. And the model, after 10,000 simulations, finished having them win by 7.5 points. So you end up getting an 11-point edge over the spread, and it turned out to be the one of 3 grade A bets for this weekend based on the model. So what do you foresee for this game, the Arizona-Cleveland game?
Yeah, you kind of touched on it briefly, but it's shocking to me that only the last undefeated team in the league is they're on the road, okay, and they're getting points. It's wild to me. Arizona's very very good so far this season. Kyler Murray has kind of grown up and come into his own with everything that's been handed to him or given to him in Arizona. Now, the matter of Cliff Kingsbury not being able to attend because he tested positive, and we know that whole spiel, back-to-back negative tests, and on a short 3-4 day span, that's not likely possible. But to me, I'm going to be paying attention to Arizona in terms of their higher end players: Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins. Let's see what AJ Green does, not from a performance standpoint, but what they do in terms of helping out their teammates there. Are they on the sidelines? Are they sharing ideas and just mentoring the younger kids? Because again, they're going to need it without their head coach. So to me, I'm all over Arizona this afternoon because of that fact. I think Arizona is good enough to kind of, grow up and gel into their own on the fly, if that makes any sense. Are some of these higher end players in terms of captains, offensive linemen, defensive captains? That's why they have team captains, so they can kind of coach and help out on the field during the game. So this case, they're going to have to be everywhere, on the sideline talking to folks, other players, and on the field, just getting players where they're supposed to be. So losing a head coach, you say losing, he didn't die. Hopefully everything is all right. But the head coach not being on the sideline during a game can have some sort of, I don't want to say devastating effect, but it has some sort of, effect on the players. So to me, just throw the DFS side of the things, the betting side. I just want to see how these guys and kids are without their head coach. We know AJ Green has kind of taken Rondale Moore under his wing, and I know that's not a popular opinion. People come here and they go, "Hey, Mitch and Chris, who's going to smash? Who's going to ownership percentage?" I just from a fan perspective, as Chris, I want to see how this team responds. Are they the real deal? I believe that after today's game, we'll have a clear picture. Are they pretenders? Are they contenders? And that's what I'm looking forward to most. And again, it's in Cleveland, and it's going to be a fantastic game. Shout out to CG. Chris G's been in the chat going nuts. So to me, it's all about the ins and outs, and it's not on the field. How is Arizona going to respond without their head coach here, Mitch?
Yeah, and looking at it from the DFS perspective, there's a couple guys I am interested in, and it's mostly just because of the weather. I think partially because it's going to be so windy. I do think that Kareem Hunt's going to get 25 touches today, maybe more. And I like David Njoku. He's so cheap still. I also still like Austin Hooper. And I was just looking at the snap percentages over here on the Study Hub. If anybody likes to use these, scroll all the way to the right past the projections, the ownerships, the ratings, the different, model numbers and things that we have here for you. You should keep scrolling here and you can get some of this data that I like to use. And, look at David Njoku. It's not like last week he was just, yes, the statistics last week came out of nowhere. 7 targets, 7 catches, 149 yards, a touchdown, took one, like 70-something yards. But, the snaps, he's been there. It's not like it's the first time he touched the field. 59% snap rate, 62, 67, 64% snap rate. The guy is on the field. He's always been uber athletic. If this is another game where they can't push the ball down the field to Odell Beckham in the winds when, our dude Baker has got a shoulder issue, well, then maybe it's a day where he settles on short passes to Kareem Hunt, whom's already catching them, and then is also dumping it off to Austin Hooper or David Njoku. And, Harrison Bryant is getting a fair amount of snaps as well, the third tight end, 51, 41, 37, 43%, but he's not getting the targets. He is a pretty decent tight end pass catching profile wise, but he's been used mostly as a blocker this year. And I think it's just going to be a day where he's going to throw the football short. Rashad Higgins, these guys that get in the for, half the snaps rotationally, they're downfield target guys. Even Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's a downfield target guy. And this is a team that I don't think is going to push the football down the field against this defense, who is, in a day where there's some weather. So Kareem Hunt, I don't care what his ownership is today. Listen, Alexander Mattison last week was a similar situation, and his ownership was one of the highest on the slate. And guess what? You ate that ownership because his price tag was not too bad. And we have a very similar situation. I think Madison last week was like 7K. We had 6.5K or something on DraftKings, or 6K on DraftKings, whatever it was. And you all felt okay playing Alexander Mattison last week, and you all used him like crazy. What the heck is the difference with Kareem Hunt? Has anybody forgotten? Have people forgotten what Kareem Hunt was like as a full-time lead running back? This guy back in the day was a top 5 fantasy football pick. He was $8,000+ on both sites. He was somebody who, when he was going to be getting all those touches and carries as the lead, the alpha, the RB1 with no RB1B in the backfield, people were paying for this guy in their DraftKings and in their FanDuel lineups, much higher prices. So now, because they've forgotten, it's been a couple of years, and Kareem Hunt is the lead dog today on a team, by the way, they don't really have an RB3, by the way. It's going to be like a rotation type setup out there for Cleveland today, where Dearness Johnson, who profiled more of a pass catcher, who, by the way, ran some snaps out of the slot this preseason, is, maybe he'll get some third down presence out there for, some drop down, some underneath targets. Excuse me. Maybe he'll get some underneath targets. But Kareem Hunt is going to be the alpha and omega of this offense in a game where they can't push the ball down the field and it's windy. I'm sorry. We're looking at 25, maybe 30 touches if he can handle the workload today. And my friends, I'm telling you right now, in my initial crunches, I will show you my exposures. You love this. Yes? Here we go. That's my tiers. I'm going to go to my running backs. Check it out. Let me bring up my most recent crunch. Restore crunches. My last 150 I did. Just going to show you this real quick. All right. 100%. Straight up locked Kareem Hunt. 6,200 on DraftKings. 100% exposure. The guy was already performing in a part-time role. The only thing I think stops him from at least hitting value at 6.2K. At 6.2K, the only thing I think stops him, you could literally give him the same workload, and I'm feeling okay with it at 6.2, right? Like if he goes out there and gets 17 touches, I'm fine with it. But I think he's got upside for 30. Now, at 6.2K, I played Madison there last week. I felt fine with it. I'm doing the same freaking thing with Kareem Hunt, and I'm locking him in. This past week, and I put two of them behind the paywall because they were too good of a streams. This past week, we looked at how did the people who won some of the major tournaments with the other professional players this week on DraftKings, we looked at like 9 pros who maxed out $6,000, $7,000 in lineups in the $40 contest. What did they do to win? And where was the money? And we saw a few of those running backs that were just in these smash spots or maybe these like full-time roles that were too cheap. And I believe Alexander Madison was the exact guy we looked at. Every single one of the winners had him at like 80% or more in their exposures. And then the other 4 or 5 people who maxed out who lost money were way underweight on the field. They tried to get cute. I'm not getting cute here. I'm just going to slam them in there as the first time. It's a first game we're looking at. And I think it's one of the more important spots in the slate. Our ownership has them at 24.4% on FanDuel, 27.7% on DraftKings. And I don't think this is a spot where I'm going to get cute. I'm just going all in on the guy. So I'm going 100% Kareem Hunt today. I don't care what anybody else is doing. 70% ownership on Yahoo. 70% ownership projection on Yahoo. That's insanity. And you know what, my friend? I'm probably just hitting the lock button and moving on.
Absolutely. And I just want to mention in the chat, Coach Craig. So shout out to him. He mentioned that it was that young kid might have also been taking snaps in the slot, Demetric Felton, which is be mindful of that. Felton only $4,600 on FanDuel. Felton is an even $4,000 on DraftKings. I believe Felton is their return guy. He returns kicks and punts. He's quick. He's shifty. So this kid can get around there. And given the fact that Nick Chubb isn't there, they might, in terms of Cleveland, they might want to kind of, get a little bit more inventive than they normally do. Instead, it's always Chubb down your throat, throw a swing pass to Hunt, and there you go. I don't think OBJ is not on my radar at all. Obviously, this isn't a seasonal fantasy sports show, but I think his days of being a high-end wide receiver are well behind him. The ship has sailed. So to me, Felton makes for a nice complementary piece in some sort of big GPP here. I just wanted to, give Coach Craig his due. I know the guy is a great man, so good call.
All right, let's move on to the very next day here. I feel like we've got Cincinnati, Detroit, very next game, excuse me. And this one's in your backyard. So I'm going to let you start us off here because, my goodness, it's Detroit Beastie here. So go ahead, dude. Why don't you fire off your takes for this game, and I'll kind of sprinkle in some nuggets there at the end.
Sure. I just want to tell folks I will be at this game when we're done with the broadcast here. It only takes me like 15-20 minutes to get downtown, hop on the freeway, and boom, I'm there. I've gone to almost every Cincinnati football game when they come here for the last few years. So looking at this game I can't even say looking at it from an outsider looking in. I mean, I'm here. I'm basically in the backyard, as you put it. So the over-under in this one is, and I always bring up over-unders and point spreads because I've made it clear that Vegas and the unders and spreads, that's like one of the foundations to what I do in terms of DFS and seasonal stuff. So when you look at this game, over under is at 47. It opened at 48.5, so it's come down a full 1.5 here. Detroit obviously getting 3.5 points here. From a DFS perspective, I love the idea of Chris Evans, right? He's been in bottom of the barrel back-to-back weeks. It's on the site for week 6. Most know where to check it out here. But Evans, to me, with Joe Mixon not being 100%, we know that. And he gave it a go last week and played very well. So to me, Chris Evans could be, put in here and there in situational spots, given the fact that they're at Detroit. And I don't bury the lead here, but I have Cincinnati winning big, like 31-10 here. So I would imagine, if I make up these game scripts in my head, for, my articles and things like that. And some do well, some I look like a fool here. But I would fully expect Cincinnati and Joe Burrow to just lay it on here. So third, fourth quarter, we could see a heavy dose of them just trying to run out the clock. So why not feed the kid? The local kid played here at the University of Michigan. So from a big GPP perspective, that's who I'm looking at. Chris Evans from in the cores, in the Team RiseOrFall cores, which are also on the site. I mentioned the combination of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and you can sprinkle in Joe Mixon for some sort of cash core. I preferred it on FanDuel. You can go either way because of the touchdown equity. See what I'm, Mitch? I listen to everything you say. I'm a pupil in a way. You're always talking about FanDuel touchdown equity, and I think that Cincinnati has that written all over them today. I firmly believe Joe Burrow puts up 2-3 touchdowns. I mean, that's like the floor here. And again, I think Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase will have no issue, especially Chase here with the banged up Lions secondary, with it just how can I put this without being rude to my team? With a lackluster defense. How about that? That's more respective here. So again, Cincinnati, big time cash game play for me. If you look at their projections, their ownership percentages, it's pretty good across the board. We're still in the green, meaning green means go in terms of FanDuel ownership percentage, DraftKings ownership percentage, and from the Lions side of things, look at Cleveland. They're 13th overall in terms of DVP against opposing quarterbacks. Is Jared Goff in play today? No, I don't think so. Normally, you can spin kind of that stuff and go, well, nobody's going to be on Jared Goff. Well, that's perfect for some sort of multi-entry GPP. I'm not even thinking twice about fading Jared Goff here. So to me, the play is DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. Again, not telling anybody anything that they don't already know. Swift has become a higher end running back, and it's only going to get better as the season progresses here. So to me, in terms of the Lions, the one-off I would think of DeAndre Swift, but I also want to mention Khalil Raymond really quick. I know I've been on a Khalil Raymond kick here, $5,100 on FanDuel, only $5,000 on DraftKings here. This guy, by process of elimination, Khalil has kind of stepped into that wide receiver one role for the Lions, which is shocking given the fact that basically nobody's ever heard of him. I think he's like 5'8", 5'9". I mean, you think of your wide receiver one as 6'3", 6'4", a monster, barrel people over, but that speaks to the direction of this team or the current status of the Detroit Lions here. So again, if you wanted to, stack the Cincinnati Bengals, that's fine. I would have no issue running it back with Khalil Raymond, and you can use DeAndre Swift in another lineup here because, again, the Cleveland Browns, they're 19th overall against opposing wide receivers, and last I looked, they also have some injury concerns on the secondary side of things for Cleveland. Again, I have this game being completely one-sided. I think Cincinnati covers big time, -3.5, and they win outright 31-10-ish here, Mitch.
Yeah, you just kind of echoed a lot of things. Well, I'm about to echo a lot of things you just said, actually. So when I'm showing my exposures here for today, again, yesterday, this was my initial run through. What were my exposures? How'd they look? Well, here they are, my friends. Looking at Jamar Chase, ended up being my highest exposed player I was to at the wide receiver position. 44% of all my lineups on DraftKings had Jamar Chase. And I'll tell you, over on Yahoo, and I don't have it all, I believe I don't have it all right up right now. Maybe I do. Maybe I can show you real quick. I've got $1,200 in play today on Yahoo, a pretty penny. And I feel pretty good about what I'm doing. 51, here it is. So on Yahoo, out of my $1,200, $1,250 on Yahoo, right here it is, man. I've got, looks like that would be $640, $640 on Jamar Chase. So I love him on Yahoo. I love him on DraftKings. I'm going in. I love the price tag. He's way too cheap. And I tell you what, man. So anytime I've got something super smart like yourself agreeing with a model, that's when I start to pay attention. Now, I'm going to be honest. I am not a professional bettor. I am learning how to bet. The beauty of my position and my role in this industry is I'm able to launch companies and put very smart, Very, very smart people, much smarter than me at the top of these companies who are able to do much cooler things than I can. So this 10,000 Sims model, I'm going to be honest, and I've said this from the beginning, it is not my model. I'm not sitting here coding how to do all this crap in Excel and whatever it is, and Monte Carlo and all this stuff. I have no clue. I have no freaking clue. But what I did know is somebody who's really sharp in the industry who does this stuff as a professional sports bettor, and we got together and he made this model. So, and then his partner out there ended up putting all this together to show, well, what does this do against Vegas's numbers? Looking at the Bengals today, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm giving this one away for free. The 10,000 Sims model is saying the Bengals at minus 270 after 10,000 Sims. Vegas has them at minus 180. This ended up being a grade B bet as well. That's pretty dope. Go over to the totals, and here we've got Detroit. Let me look at Detroit and Cincy. I got to find the game real quick. As I misnumbered these. Detroit and Cincinnati. There they are. Okay, so if you're looking at team totals today, 25 points is the Vegas consensus for the Bengals. Sparry total has them at 27. Not a significant edge, only 2 points over the differential. No graded bet. Same thing for the over, minus 2.5 under if you're playing overs unders. And then if you look at the spreads, so we've got Cincinnati, and here's another one, a grade of a C. Vegas has them at minus 3.5. Sparry Metal thinks the same thing of what you said, dude. Just going to blow the doors wide open. Has them at minus 10 after 10,000 simulations. Cincy on the road, getting a lot of points there. So here we go. If I'm looking, or giving a lot, if I'm looking at the grade, so we had an A for the, or B for the money line and a C for the graded bet. Why does that matter? And I'm going to bring this up again. And listen, I went 5 weeks without marketing Sparry at all. And it's time. It's just time. I waited until we had a little bit of a sample size. You know, that matters to me. I don't want to just like give stuff out just to try to make a buck. I don't care less. I mean, what I wanted to be able to do is be like, yo, check it out. We've got 96 graded bets on the season. This is what this is saying. 61 and 33 out of those graded bets, 2 pushes. 64.9% hits. Here's the money in play. Here's the money returned. That's $323 profit. This is small $10 bets. And so you can do your own unit sizes. 32.4 units with a 28.6% ROI. So if you do larger units, all right, I don't know if you do $50 a bet, whatever that would be. It's 50 times 32.4 would be your return. So whatever your unit is, I mean, your return could be so much greater. I mean, if you're doing $50 per unit, then you're looking at $3,230 return, I believe. Math wise, no, that's not right. $1,615. So like based on your unit, this is what you're supposed to use. And again, this is why I'm not a professional bettor. I don't know this stuff. Someone told me you're supposed to just show them how many units you're winning and what the win rate is, and then they're able to take their own math and be like, oh, okay, well, I do $100 per bet, so 32.4 times 100, that's how much money they'd have. So there you go. The non-bettor telling you that the betting model itself is dope. We don't make picks. Sparry is a tout-free zone for a reason. I don't want any individuals like myself pretending they're professional sports bettors up here telling you, well, I love the Bengals this week because of X, Y, and Z, and I think they're going to cover for ABC. No, thank you. What does the model say? And is the model doing well? There you go. So there it is. We've got the man from Detroit thinking the Bengals cover. The Bengals blow the doors open. 10,000 Sims model, which is 64.9% hit rate, says the same exact thing. Chris, you're a sharp man. You nailed it. Let's move on. I wanted to give you a little bit of a moment to shine there for Detroit, and I wanted to show my exposures. And let's just move on. We'll continue to do the same thing. Dallas and New England. Do you have much interest in this game? And if so, where are you?
You know what, Dallas and New England game, to me, it's polarizing in a way, given the trajectories of both teams. Dallas has looked fantastic. Dak Prescott looks to be no nastiness left over from that compound fracture here in his ankle. In terms of like a sports betting thing, Dallas at New England, I believe the over under, it opened at 48.5. And what I like to notice is Monday or Tuesday when I'm working on bottom of the barrel and I do all that, I write down the point spreads as it stands on Monday, and then you kind of look through it and see where it wavers or falters throughout the week. So as I said, Dallas at New England opened at 48.5. Now it's sitting at 50. and a half. So it's gone up a full 2 points, and that tells you which way the sharps are leaning, and what we're going from here. So New England gets 3 points, and then up from a game perspective, from a DFS perspective, you're right. I have little to no interest, but I want to back up bottom of the barrel really quick if you don't mind, because as it stands now, Damian Harris, some nasty rib injury. It's been tender. They don't know which way he's going to go today, active, inactive here. So keep an eye out for that. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Mitch, I believe all the ins and outs and actives and inactives come out at about 11:30 Eastern time. So a full hour and a half before the first kickoff. And when you look at this one, if Damian Harris is unable to play, I love the idea of Ramondre Stevenson. Dallas, they're tough against the running back. They're 6th overall against running backs, but Ramondre, only $5,100 on FanDuel, $4,500 on DraftKings. So as I said, they're 7th against running backs, but they're 27th against opposing wide receivers, which I would fully expect Ramondre and even Brandon Bolden to be running routes, screen passes, anything like that. So you can kind of cheat here, 7th against running backs, but they're 27th against wide receivers, which I fully expect Bolden and Ramondre Stevenson to be. We saw, what's his name, rookie Mac Jones. He kind of took a step back last week after that awesome game with Tampa Bay. But again, if you want to beat this Dallas team who just flies around on defense, the Dallas Cowboys have come in, strong and heavy on defense here. That's how I think you're going to have to beat Dallas. Dink and dunk, things along those lines. So I very much love Ramondre Stevenson, and even to a lesser extent, Brandon Bolden here. And then on the Dallas side of things, nothing really that sticks out to me. I also mentioned Tony Pollard in bottom of the barrel, $66,000 on FanDuel. I believe he's only $5,600 on DraftKings, and it all depends on what the reader and what the listener thinks, how they think this game is going to head. If you need a boost in that one, I have Dallas winning about 31-17 here, so it looks like Dallas will win comfortably. No issue taking Dallas -3, and who's to say, again, in the fourth quarter here, we see a steady dose of Tony Pollard after Ezekiel Elliott has already found the end zone once, twice here. So again, I love Dallas minus the 3 points. DFS perspective, not much going on here. I could see, like a one-off with one of the Patriots running backs in some sort of multi-entry GPP, Mitch.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in this game, but I tell you what, so the projections today for teamriseorfall.com, they've got me on this game a little bit. And it's mostly because I'm doing something a little bit different with my with my DFS today. I am actually going to be focusing heavily on doing team stacks rather than bring back stacks. Now, we've been looking at this for about 2 weeks now, and this week I finally made my own proclamation, and I said, I see this. This is now a trend. We're seeing winning lineups with no game stacks. We're seeing team stacks right now, and it's been happening for probably 3 weeks or so. We're seeing different tournaments getting taken down with these team stacks, no one on the other side. This could be one of those spots. I do think Jacoby Myers garners some attention, though, at his current price tags. He's going to score sooner or later. He's a smaller guy, but, no one goes 100-plus catches in a career without a touchdown, without having some type of regression. It's going to happen, right? We think, we hope. And at 5.5K, I think this guy, someone who gets targeted a little bit more underneath, quicker passes to him against a pass rush like the Cowboys, who are putting a ton of pressure on other teams. They have 10 interceptions on the season, 6 of them from Stephon Diggs' brother, Trayvon Diggs. And, the other 4, though, still in the rest of the defenders, this team is getting after the football. They're getting after the quarterback. And I love the Cowboys defense today on FanDuel. They're 4.1K. They're one of my top 4 or 5 defenses. They ended up in my cash pool on my Donuts Playbook, that premium private article on the site. Cowboys were one of my several defenses I was targeting today. So there's some pieces I like here. Jacoby as a bring back stack, not as a one-off. Only use them as a bring back stack with your Dallas players if you're doing that. And if you're going just Dallas team stack, I'm trying to get in as many touchdowns as I can. So I actually don't want 2 pass catchers at that wide receiver position. I think if Amari blows up 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, CD's probably not eating. And I think if, CD pops off, Amari Cooper's not eating. So I would create a rule inside Fantasy Cruncher, or a rule inside your brain if you're doing it on your mobile phones. Probably don't want to use both those wide receivers with Dak. I do think you can use Dak and then you could probably use Dak and then go ahead and use Zeke Elliott. If you go look at last season's first 4 games, go look at this season's first 5 games. I believe Zeke has gone off for 20-plus points in 9 of those games. and Dak has gone off for 20 plus in 8 of those games. And those two went off together for 20 plus in 4 of the 8 games. So 50% of the time, both Zeke and Dak are going off for 20 plus. 3 of those 4 times, Dak went for 30 plus, and Zeke still went for 20 plus. It's because Zeke catches touchdowns. And if that offense is just moving up and down the field, both these guys who are so proficient in the red zone, I think they're both fine. So you could get Zeke in there, 120 yards and a score. You'd be happy with it. You can get Dak out there, 275, 3 scores. I don't know against this defense if you have that slate winning ceiling for multiple pass catchers, though. So, in fact, when I made my Dallas team lineup building group today, I tried to go out of my way to make sure that I had a little bit more of Dalton Schultz, a little bit more of Zeke Elliott, and a little bit more of CeeDee Lamb, who I think is going to score today. And I try to get a little bit less of Amari Cooper. So that is kind of how I set it up. I ended up getting 18% of CeeDee Lamb. He was, I think, my 9th or 10th wide receiver on the board. There he is. Looks like 9th. And there it is. Jacoby Myers, whom I think is going to have himself a day today at 5.5K. Ended up being my 3rd highest owned player in my initial crunches on DraftKings, because I believe that he's going to be that underneath quick target that a lot of people try to focus on against Dallas, because they lock down outside wide receivers a little bit with Trayvon Diggs, and they get after the pass. They get after the passer like crazy. This team's got a bunch of sacks on the season. We can go look at Dallas real quick. The Cowboys defense. Look at the sack totals: 2, 2, 5, 0. A couple zeros in there randomly, but 2, 2, 5, and then a billion turnovers, 2 touchdowns. I'm just looking at Jacoby Myers is a guy who could get peppered underneath today. Green Bay, Chicago, not liking this game at all. In fact, the betting angle for both Dallas, New England, Green Bay, Chicago, the model has a graded bet for both of these on their totals. Not going to give it away. They're on the website. Green Bay and Chicago. I'm going to lead this one off, Chris. I'll kick it over to you. I set up since I'm talking about team stacks, I set up my team stacks today specific for Green Bay as well. I'm not doing larger team stacks. In fact, I have one person when I'm using Aaron Rodgers today, and it's Davante Adams. And you'll see his exposure on both Yahoo and on DraftKings, one of my highest owned players this week. And it doesn't matter whether I'm using him on as a stack or not. I'm just using him. So it doesn't mean 39% of my exposure. So 40% of my $1,200 was about $550 into Davante Adams today on Yahoo. It doesn't mean I have 39% of my lineup stacked with Aaron Rodgers. It legitimately just means I love Davante Adams to score some freaking tutties. And I love his price tag on both sites because I think it's so high that people don't want to pay it. So you're telling me now you've got a price tag where people are a little uncomfortable paying $9K for the guy. So his ownership is going to be a little bit lower than it should be. And I love me some awkward pricing. Give me an awkward price player. And I think that is fear for the public, which means it's opportunity for me. Where there's fear, there's opportunity. Anytime you get those awkward prices, the public says, no thanks. I'll pay down today for Terry McLaurin, for Cooper Kupp. I'm going to pay down for CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill, blah, blah, blah. Give me the pay up option to Davante Adams, a guy who has scored over 20 points, and I believe 14 out of 18 games, 30 plus in 8 out of his last 18, 40 plus in 5 of those 18, almost 30% of the time he's scoring. It was a 36 points or higher. It's like something silly. I just went over this on my Thursday morning Fantasy Pros podcast. I was talking about Davante Adams and the amount of times he's hitting these numbers. It's insane. It's insane. 30% of the time, you're talking 35 plus points. Yeah, I'm paying $9K for that. So that's where I am today, dude. I don't know about you. I'm intrigued to hear what you have to say, especially if you have any exposure to Chicago and Khalil Herbert.
I do, and here's my thing again. You can look at certain games and tell where just right initial reaction, where the value is, where the awkward pricing is, as you put it. I'm on board with that. But in my bottom of the barrel this week, I had a lot of Chicago, and I'll tell you why. Because their prices have dipped so low. So I'll get to Herbert in a moment, Khalil Herbert in a moment. You look at Justin Fields, $6,400 on FanDuel. 51 on DraftKings, only 20 bucks on Yahoo. Now, this is a case where a lot of folks have already jumped ship on him. They're like, oh my God, what do we do? He was supposed to be the second coming. Matt Nagy and the Chicago offensive coaches and talent has completely just betrayed him. They're running this kid into the ground. Now, at his price, I'm willing to take a risk on Justin Fields here. As I think I said, Green Bay, they're 16th overall against opposing quarterbacks. And you have me on here to kind of give my opinions. That's what my article is all about, and kind of what my videos are about. I'm like the color guy, right, in a broadcast here. And so when you look at Justin Fields, I think that there's a case here where this kid, is he going to show up and grow up right in front of our eyes here, or is he going to just toil in purgatory and mediocrity for the rest of the season here? So it's up to this kid, and I'm going to bet on he shows up and grows up here, does a lot on the fly. That's all I've always wanted to see from a kid like Fields, or even Trey Lance in San Francisco. So the head coach, Matt Nagy, Bill Lazor, the offensive coordinator, they're not good. They have not been good this season, and I talked about them in length, I believe, week 1 and week 2, Mitch. Same thing with Jacksonville and Urban Meyer. But for the sake of what we're doing this morning here, I think Justin Fields is going to have to make a lot of steps and plays on his own, like recognize the defense and diagnose it, make some calls at the line of scrimmage, some audibles, and go from there. The number one thing with Justin Fields is, the kid has a cannon arm. He can drop a football in a bucket in 40 yards, but his claim to fame are his legs. Can he rack up points like Jalen Hurts or Kyler Murray here? And they're not letting him do anything. So to me, I think Justin Fields would be wise to just start to take over this game on his own accord, making some decisions at the line of scrimmage, putting his hand on his helmet and, like a play caller. Nope, I don't like that. So again, this is all my opinion. It's all perspective, but I think Justin Fields can really step up and step out today against the Green Bay Packers. For that fact, I love Allen Robinson. First time A-Rob has ever been in the bottom of the barrel because his price is so low. Allen Robinson, $5,900 on FanDuel, only $5,300 on DraftKings, and only $16 on Yahoo here. Now with Allen Robinson, same thing. This whole offense, people have been jumping ship. We've seen a ton of screenshots of weird trades in seasonal formats. Like, what do we do with Allen Robinson? He's a bum. He didn't do nothing. And it's all stems from the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and it trickles down to Justin Fields, and boom, Allen Robinson. If you look at his route tree, I say this every broadcast, he's not running anything longer, not kidding, than 15 to 18 yards. Allen Robinson is a stud downfield. He's a contested catch kind of guy. Give him those 50-50 balls and he'll make you happy. None of that has been going on. So I am very much willing to take the risk on these two this afternoon, given the matchup. And again, I think, I shouldn't say this, but I think Green Bay wins this game. That's no secret here, but I do firmly believe that it can be interesting. In terms of a final score, I have Green Bay winning like 28 to 14, 28 to 17. I've kind of, rosied up to the Chicago Bears here. And then let's talk about Khalil Herbert really quick, the elephant in the room. Everybody on earth has been on this guy. And I just want to say, I don't think, Mitch, I'm an in-your-face kind of guy, or I told you so kind of guy, but we mentioned Khalil Herbert in bottom of the barrel last week, and then he went on to get 18 carries. So then again, I put Herbert in bottom of the barrel again this week, and we'll see what we can get. And it's just been it's been like a snowball rolling downhill. It's this massive, boulder now. And looking at Khalil Herbert, it's on the study hub. You have it in front of you. Khalil Herbert, he's starting to get to that red spot. 14.2% ownership on DraftKings, 13.9% on FanDuel here. Now, we opened the broadcast with Kareem Hunt. He's 20-something% owned, and that's a no-brainer. But Khalil Herbert at such high ownership percentage, I'm out. It's like Shark Tank. I appreciate it, but I'm out, right? I thought we could get an edge with Khalil Herbert. Everybody on earth is on him. His ownership percentage is getting a little bit too rich for my blood. And I keep comparing him to Kareem Hunt because we know what we're going to get with Hunt. The guy can get it done. The rookie in his second ever kind of first start, I would imagine. I'm not that excited to play a kid like that. I don't even care what he did last week. That high ownership percentage. So the edge was to play Herbert last week, and I thought the edge was to play him this week. And now, Mitch, the edge is to fade him, and that's what I'm doing. I love the idea of Justin Fields and Allen Robinson, and that's what I'm looking at here, Mitch.
Yeah, so Khalil Herbert is interesting to me. I like so many of these guys today are a little bit higher priced, like Devontae Adams. I'm going on my way to virtually lock in Travis Kelsey across the industry. And I'm having trouble. And Delvin Cook, another one I'm trying to plug in a ton of. I just think, off the injury report, this guy, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But anyways, I think he's going to be a guy who I think could surprise, get 25 plus carries, 150, two scores, something that could win you the slate. So I'm trying to go out of my way to buy as much as I can of these expensive players. Same with the quarterbacks. I'm at the higher end of the quarterback tiers today. So I'm trying to find ways to get, some salary relief. Punting at defense is one of them, and then paying down for some of these running backs who are in some of these volume type roles, even if they have tough matchups. So there's two guys, and I'm going to be using them quite a bit. And they're not like sexy names or picks at all, but I'm using Devontae Booker out there for the Giants, and I'm using Khalil Herbert for the Bears. And, partially I just want that touch volume. 18 touches last week when Damian Williams was out of the game here, really took over. I think 12 of his touches came after the fact. And I think that, you're going to have an opportunity today where he's just going to get a ton of snaps. We saw in the beginning of the season when we had, I can't remember, David Montgomery. He was in there for 65, 70% of the snaps each week as the RB1. And we saw just a few snaps per week on Damian Williams. I think it's going to be the same thing here for Khalil Herbert. He's just got no one else. Ryan Nall, one of their fullbacks, has been operating as that RB2 this week. He'll get some work. We saw him do that in the preseason as well. So I think you're going to see Khalil Herbert 80, 85% of snaps, like a snap rate that is up there with the elite levels. And I think he will have an opportunity for 20, 25 touches unless you think that they're all of a sudden going to take Justin Fields and have him throw the football 30 times, which they are apprehensive and not doing so this year. I think 20 times last week, 17 the week before. They are protecting this kid. So if they're not going to throw the football 30 times, where's their other 35 plays on offense? This team is averaging, I believe, 50. Let me go to the game flow, actually. I'll just tell you what they're doing. Let's see. Chicago Bears are running 57.8 plays per game. So if they're throwing the football 17 times in week 4, 20 times in week 5, we're talking 37 other rushing plays, right? Let's say they throw the ball 25 times this week. Okay, there's still 32 rushing plays to be spread around. 32 rushing plays. What if Ryan Nall gets 10 of them, 12 of them? I don't care. That still means 20 carries for Khalil Herbert. And by the way, the dump off passes to the running backs, 50% of all targets currently from Justin Herbert. So you've got a guy in Khalil Herbert who could potentially Justin Fields. You got a guy in Khalil Herbert who could look at 25 total touches today. And, yes, his ownership is elevated, but I'm just going to eat the salary. I don't think it's necessarily good chalk, but I don't think it's bad chalk either. I think it's volume chalk, and I'm okay with the volume. I'm okay at higher ownerships, and I'm just going to plug him in. If I lose today, so be it. I planted my flag, and that's where I am in this game and in these tournaments. Houston, Indy, another kind of crummy looking game, but I do kind of like one thing in this game, and that is stacking up the Colts passing game with a return in Brandon Cooks, and I don't care how ugly it's going to be. I'm looking at a little bit small exposure in tournaments. Very specific stack. It's going to be a 4-player stack, probably better suited for single entries. I'm going to be plugging in Carson Wentz, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, running it back with Brandon Cooks. That's it. That's all I need. I want zero exposure to anybody else in this game. I don't care about Zach Pascal and all these other players. Get them out of your lineups. I don't care. You guys do what you want. I'm going with that 4-player stack. I actually hit the lock button on those 4, and I ran out like 3 lineups or so in my 150 max on DraftKings just to make it work and see how it goes. Do you have any exposure to this game? Do you want any exposure to any of these players?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you here. So Houston at Indianapolis, it opened at 43, the over-under, and it stayed right there. Houston is getting 10 points in this one. From a betting perspective, I'm all over Houston plus 10. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think, 27 to 24, something along those lines. And I want to preface what I'm about to say, if you don't mind here, with some of these Houston players. So as, DFS, it's booming in terms of popularity and people writing and broadcasting broadcasting here. So when I write an article like Bottom of the Barrel, or we do any sort of broadcast here, it's kind of last thing I want to do, Mitch, is be called boring, or last thing I want to do is just be cookie cutter and say, nope, I don't want any bit of Houston, and we go from there. So I
Chris,
don't want.
I'm gonna interject. No one under the sun will ever say you're cookie cutter, buddy.
Well, that's good, because being called boring is probably my number one fear. Some folks say drowning or being burned alive, but to me, if someone ever said they called me boring, I'd be devastated.
I tell you what, man, if that's your number one fear, you have no fears.
Well, maybe I need to reassess my life and do an inventory, because I definitely have a couple more fears. But for the sake of a live broadcast, I'll leave that for my next therapy appointment, and we'll go from here. So in terms of Houston, nobody is really on them, and rightfully so. But to me, I love the idea of a stack of Davis Mills. I know it's crazy, and David Johnson. Davis Mills was mentioned in Bottom of the Barrel. So was David Johnson. Mills, $6,700 on FanDuel, only $5,200 on DraftKings. The Indianapolis Colts, they are 20th overall against opposing quarterbacks here. And did this kid tap into something last week with his 300 yards and his multiple touchdown passes? I'm not sure, but it's one of those cases where I'd rather him work it out while he's on one of my DFS teams rather than be left holding my hat in the dust, however you want to put it here. So again, looking at the ownership here. You have it in front of you, I believe here. Nobody on earth is going to be on these guys. You know, Davis Mills, not even. He's 0.3% owned on DraftKings. On FanDuel, 0.5% here. That's crazy to me, and maybe that is. Maybe I am crazy, but again, it's DFS is all risk reward. What are you willing to put up to have some sort of success? And again, I don't care about the chalk and like wild outlandish plays here. I only can do what I deem is good in my heart of hearts. And I'm telling you now, there's something telling me Mills and David Johnson will hook up once or twice in this game, receiving touchdowns. And I think it's going to be glorious. So all my eyes, and I only have two of them, are going to be all over this game, whether I'm watching it live or following it on some sort of platform here. So I just want people to just double check. I'm not asking you to play those. I'm not rubber stamping it here. But I know a lot of folks, when they play DFS, they fade, games like this because it's off the map. Nobody cares. They're not a good football team. But what's the worst that could happen, Mitch? You lose $1, you lose $2. I'm not asking you to put $100 entry in a GPP and anchor your team with Davis Mills and David Johnson. Throw something together. Listen to the rest of the broadcast. Go to Rise or Fall. Get to the Study Hub and all the premium stuff. It's like, what is it? $10 a week. It's like $1.50 a day here. And kind of mix and match what else you're doing. I'm just saying here, I'm going to have a little bit of exposure to Davis Mills and David Johnson here, and we'll see how it ends by the end of the day here, Mitch.
I'll say one thing you have working for you, and maybe the numbers are skewed because of this past Week 5 game against Baltimore. Indy is giving up 24.48 points per game to opposing quarterbacks, 29.14 to wide receivers, 12.1 to tight ends. If you sort by each of them, that is a bottom 3 number on the main slate for each and every position. So the only thing they're really not giving up points to is the running back position, but everybody else is scoring a lot of points. Now, Houston only implied to score 16.75 points today. By Vegas consensus, Sparty edge after 10,000 sims actually has Houston at plus 6.5. So that's a major swing past the 7-point mark there, and also off the 10-point mark. So that's two hurdles you've cleared. So Houston covering there and significant 3.5 edge over the Vegas consensus. So there you go. If you wanted that freebie, there you go. It's not a graded bet. So again, the graded model is 61 and 33. Ungraded, I don't even think I showed the photo. What is the ungraded scores? Ungraded is on the season. Looks like for spreads is 5 and 7. So, take that for what it's worth. Now let's move on. We've got some delectable games to talk about now. Finally, we made it. We got through the muck and mire here. Garbage. KC and Washington. We've got LAC and Baltimore next. The Rams and Giants after that. Then Vegas and Denver, another game people are looking to stack. Minnesota, Carolina, stack-worthy games, these last 5. So let's get into it. This is what people are probably waiting for. Before we get to that, though, real quick, if you could hit that like button while you're watching the stream today, we've had anywhere between like 70 and 90 kind of coming in and out. If you could just hit that like button, that's super helpful for our stream. bumps us up. It helps Chris and I continue to be able to do free content, free videos, free streams. So if you could hit that like button while you're watching, if you're on phone, you can scroll down a little bit, just hit the like button. If you're on PC, it should be right there underneath our ugly mugs there. So go ahead, hit that like button for us. And it's a good way to support free content by doing something free on your own side by just touching a button. So appreciate y'all for being here, and thank you for supporting us in that way, shape, or form. Now, Chris, we're going to do this game real quick. Well, not real quick. This is an important game. We're going to do this one, and then we're going to slide over before we do the next four because those are, honestly, it's probably the turning point of the slate is going to be in the next 4 games. I don't think this one's as important as people are making it out to be because I think the ownership's going to be all over this game. So I think there's some different ways you could play it. But then I think the next few is where some of the edges are in DFS today is in these next 4 games that we're going to talk about. So we're going to do this breakdown, and then we're going to slide over. We're going to do some props. We're going to pick some prop bets today. We'll have some fun doing that for about 10 minutes, and then we'll swing back over and finish the final 4 games for DFS. So we've got KC and Washington, a massive total. I believe was a 54.5, 55.5, something like that. And, both offenses in a prime spot to blow up. And why? It's because both defenses are absolutely horrendous. Let me show you this before we continue and do anything else. Okay? So I'm going to look at the game flow tab. I'm going to look at all teams just so you can see how bad it is. When you sort by points per game, here I am. I'm on the game flow tab down here on the study hub. KC giving up 32.6 points per game. That is the worst on the slate. Washington giving up 31 points per game. That's the second worst on the slate. Look at the rushing yards per game. KC giving up 141 per game. Second worst on the slate. Passing yards per game. Golly, KC's bad. KC defense, second worst passing yards on the slate, 296.4. Washington giving up 293.4. That's the fourth worst. These defenses are horrendous. The only thing Washington doesn't do is give up running yards. Guess what KC can't do? Run the football. I believe Washington has given up 4 300-yard passers. KC is giving up 4 300-yard passers on the season out of their 5 weeks. I think both Taylor Heinicke, I think, and Patrick Mahomes are potential to blow up for 320, 330, 340 yards through the air today. Both teams have a chance of going bonkers offensively, and it's one of those spots where the ownership is meeting where these points are going, and I'm kind of okay with it to an extent. KC giving up the most points per game to quarterbacks. Washington giving up the second most points per game to quarterbacks. Wide receivers, the both bottom 3. Tight ends, KC giving up a bottom 3 tight end points total, and Ricky Seals-Jones, somebody everybody's looking at today because of that. Guy came in there, ran a ton of snaps this past week at the tight end position because there was no Logan Thomas. So we immediately saw Ricky Seals-Jones go out there, have a high snap percentage. Look at this, 99% of the snaps he was out there for. And he ended up getting 9 targets, scored 9 points on the week. Anytime you get a tight end running 99% of the snaps against a team giving up 296 yards per game through the air, 32 points per game to opposing teams, and a bottom 3 point total to tight ends, Ricky Seals-Jones looks like a shoe-in for a floor game at least. And he's just $3K on DraftKings, $5K on FanDuel, and over there on Yahoo, I can't remember what his how much he costs over there on Yahoo. He is
$11.
Goodness gracious! I mean, I'm not going to go over all these players. I think they're, of course, all in play. But what are you doing with them? That is, honestly, I think what separates winners from losers today is, yes, we're all going to have exposure here, but to what extent and how are you using them? What kind of stacks you rolling out?
Looking at this game, it's kind of, I hate to say this, I mean, it's Sunday morning. We should be invigorated and ready to go. But to be fair, that's all I've heard people talking about is the Washington football team in Kansas City. So to be honest, it's kind of exhausting to talk about them. And so which way do we go? If you look at like Tuesday afternoon, bottom of the barrel was published per usual. And I wanted to highlight Heinicke, but I've talked about him till I blew in the face. I wanted to mention Ricky Seals-Jones. We talked about him till blue in the face, but nobody's mentioned, the wide receivers for Kansas City. More importantly, McCole Hardman, $5,500 on FanDuel, $4,200 on DraftKings, and only $13 on Yahoo. Now, last week, in week 5 on Sunday, Tyreek Hill left the game with some sort of knee thing, but he came back in the game. Now, everything was good. Showed up to practice, but then on Thursday he left. He didn't finish practice because of some sort of quad injury. Now, I know I'm not saying anything profound or anything that people can't can't find in 2 seconds on their phone here. But who's to say that Tyreek Hill banged up with his leg? It's the same leg, his knee, his quad, and that'll hinder what the cheetah can do. He looks to be active by all accounts. That's how it looks to be. But I'm telling you now, in a game against Washington, which I would expect Kansas City and all their fans and their head coach to think that they could just win this game and beat Washington standing on their head, a lot of folks won't even look to a kid like McCole Hardman. They won't even look to a kid like, what's his name? Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle. It's the trickle-down effect, as I mentioned in Bottom of the Barrel on Team Rise or Fall this week. So to me, who's to say that Tyreek Hill he's like on a restricted snap count, kind of like an A.J. Brown, playing 10 to 12 snaps, 15 max, nothing deep, just kind of on the field there as in air quotes, a decoy. I hate that term. If he's on the field, he's on the field. But to me, the play here is McCole Hardman. As I said, I personally, I'm moving if anybody can see me, I'm moving all my chips in on McCole Hardman today in over-under bets, single game prop bets. Hopefully we'll get to something, Mitch, here in a moment with the underdog fantasy and all that, with all that betting here. I'm going all in on McCole Hardman today to have some sort of like a wide receiver one type of game here where he's in the discussion at the end of the week where he was like a top 3, top 5 wide receiver overall, 100 yards, several touchdowns. And I know that's wild to say, it's outlandish. I haven't built my DFS and broadcasting career on hot takes and rubbing people the wrong way. But when I have a feeling about a player, that's what I do. I try and express my feelings as much as I can. And I have that same feeling about McCole Hardman today. And by the way, Washington, they're 27th overall against opposing wide receivers here. So again, we talked about Heineke a ton. Patrick Mahomes, stud. And so to me, aside from Ricky Seals-Jones, great play, I love going all in on McCole Hardman today, Mitch.
Okay, I appreciate the insight on what you're doing. So today, I'm going to tell you this. You guys just don't need us to tell you, hey, you should play these guys in this game. It's going to be probably fireworks. Both defenses are just really bad. Listen, there are times when you see implied team totals 28, 29 points, and you're looking at it, you're like, oh, that's pretty good. This could be a shootout. And then you go look at the defense, you go look at the players involved, everything, weather, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, I don't know. Maybe these defenses are a little bit better than you think, but no. Okay. Both of these defense are bottom 5 in the NFL in pass rush. All right. That is a major precursor to defenses that are able to hold other teams down. Neither defense can stop the pass because, number one, they don't have the cover guys. Number two, they don't have a pass rush. This is just what their defenses are right now and potentially for the rest of the season. They're both giving up more than 3 points per game than the third closest worst defense in the NFL. They are horrendous defensive teams. And unless something is fixed in their schemes this week at the same exact time, I don't know how we don't see some type of shootout. So my only take on this game is I'm not going to shy away from these players. I'm using them, but my goal is to have large game stacks. So while people are out there going, Patrick Mahomes, McCole Hardman, Terry McLaurin, I'm going, Mahomes, Hardman, Seals, Tyreek Hill, double tight end. Yeah, excuse me, not Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce, double tight end. And then mixing in like Darrell Williams or Antonio Gibson. I'm going to go out of my way to make like funky 5-player game stacks. I'm going to include 4 people in some of these games. I'm also going to include 3 people from one team and then like theorize what the run back could be. Travis Kelce locked in. And then maybe I've got Taylor Heineke as the quarterback with Ricky Seals-Jones, Terry McLaurin, and Antonio Gibson. And I'm just saying Washington scores so many points and it's fantasy funnel production across these 3 players because nobody else knows how to score any points. And then Travis Kelce in the comeback mode or the bring back mode where KC's throwing the football to keep pace. And maybe we're having issues with Tyreek's leg and maybe McCole is dropping the football. So who's getting all the work? 18, 19 targets like a Darren Waller type game, Travis Kelce. Like I am putting together exposure to this game. Absolutely. Probably a third of all my lineups today will be large game stacks of this game. And they're all going to be 4 or 5-man stacks. I'll have no small stacks, no 3-man stacks, no team stacks. I think if one of these teams pops off, the other team's going to have to throw the football a ton. And I don't think either defense can stop the other team from throwing the football and moving the football up and down the field. The only thing that really ruins this game from being a blowout as if one of the teams just offensively is not in the zone today. Both defenses are just so bad. They're epically bad. We're looking at like some of the worst defenses we've seen in the past decade or so. Combined 63.4 points per game these teams are giving up. And I see no reason, no way, shape, or form that these teams can stop each other today. I expect a blowout. I am predicting a blowout. The Sparry model has a nice blowout. I don't need to give the specific data, but we're looking at a game where Vegas is not wrong. And the Sparry model actually has them as an over, I think at 54.5, it's over. Sparry model after 10,000 sims, I believe was like 7 points over or something. And it was an A bet. So I don't need to show it specifically. The update comes soon, I believe, on Sparry. When it gets updated, I'll look at the final numbers before I place any more bets. But goodness gracious, I just find it hard to believe that this game doesn't shoot out. And I think, honestly, if you are going in there and building small stacks in this game, you're better off just fading it. So it's either large stacks and be way overweight or just fade it outright. Let's move on to the next thing that I want to do before we get to these 4 other awesome games, which I love stacking every single one of these next 4 games. I'll actually show some of my exposures for these games as well. Let's do the monkey knife fight. So we've had people asking for 2 weeks. And we do these small little streams here. Yeah, I like Devontae Booker. We'll talk about him, Max. Let me post this in Discord. That's not the right link. I've got this sweet link here for you. If you use this link that I'm posting and you use promo code DONUTS, so link code, it will match you your deposit up to $100. And my friends, I will give you a rest of October free at Sparry. So what Monkey Knife Fight is basically like a prop site, all right, which is super fun. It's a lot of fun that you can use your projection model and things to go ahead and play these. So what I've done here is I put in, I think, $67 into this, the early games. I've got these plays in, invested here. Gibson less than 69 rushing yards, Herbert less than 69 rushing yards. And then I've got more passing yards for Mahomes at 314, more for Herbert over 299, blah, 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 blah. So what Beastie and I are going to do real quick is we're going to go to the NFL slate. We're going to look at the early slate since there's some fun ones, and then we'll go look at the main slate. We're going to go all the way to the right. We're going to look at some of these big ones where you've got, 8 picks to make or 5 picks to make. We'll do a more or less 5. All right. So we'll do a 5-player more or less, and then we'll go do a 5-player more or less for the afternoon slate and see if we can help people win some money. These are going to be free plays. Again, this is pure entertainment value. Beastie and I are just putting in kind of our takes here. If you wanted like a props model, Sparry has one where you could go here, click the props. It's all things player projections, meaning you could go to Monkey Knife Fight. You could look at Patrick Mahomes 315, and then you could search in Mahomes' name. See, Sparry model has them at 281, and then you could just do something like that and play less 315. So go ahead, do it the way you want to do it. I'm doing it straight up off my bias because it's more fun. I have Patrick Mahomes, and again, I just talked about this game ad nauseum. I think he's going to go bonkers because the team is just giving up 1 million passing yards and touchdowns per game. I think they've given up 4 passing touchdowns in 4 games this year. Mahomes, I love him today. Over 315.5 passing yards.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I remember this time last week we were talking about Mahomes over/under, and I believe we both agree that the under, because it was at like 315 or something like that. And again, I barely remember because I actually do remember because Patrick Mahomes, you never bet the under with anything Patrick Mahomes here. So again, why would I start now? Patrick Mahomes, well over 315 passing yards, and again, it's a lock. I'm very much looking forward to it too.
Justin Herbert at Baltimore, team we've seen have some trouble in the secondary this year because that pass rush just is non-existent. We thought they'd have one. They can't stop the run either. Chargers, are they going to pop off today? Well, we'll talk about that next in our DFS segment. 299.5 passing yards for Justin Herbert. I have him as more. He's hit that number in 3 out of 5 games. Had 268, 281 in the other 2. Go back to last season. Anytime he threw the ball 40 times or more, it was an average of 320-something yards. Can't remember the number. It was something wild. I think he has to do the same today. He's thrown the ball 38-plus times in 4 to 5 games this year. You're starting to see that number creep up as this team has identified how it has to move the football, and it's through the air, even dump-offs to Eckler. So more than 299.5 passing yards, I'm there.
Yeah, no brainer. Over under, and this one is at 53 and a half, or excuse me, it's 50 even, and I think every bit of that goes over. I have the final like 31-30, so you're looking at what, like about 61 total points in here, and that means how did these two teams get to that point? On the strength of Herbert's arm and on the strength of Lamar Jackson's leg, and I know we'll get there, but to me, Mitch, over absolutely.
Devontae Adams plus 7.5 or minus 7, well, more than 7.5 receptions or less. I'm going to go more here. I think Devontae, honestly, they're just going to move the football through the air. Devontae is the alpha and omega of this offense right now. You're not seeing the same production from Aaron Jones. Even that big pop-off game he had, it was 3 receiving touchdowns. So I think Devontae Adams more than 7.5 with the greatest connection in NFL over the last 4 years between Rodgers and Devontae. I got more 7.5 here, which is a high number, by the way.
It is, yeah. A mere mortal would go under. I mean, the guys are going to catch more than 7 passes. Yeah, absolutely. I think Devontae could easily get into double-digit receptions here, 10, 11. I have him right at about 9. That's what I feel comfortable there. So to me, over in a game, as we mentioned, moments ago, that Green Bay dominates here. And a lot of folks say, well, Chicago's defense is really good. And what Chicago Bears team are you looking at? So give me the over here, Mitch.
All right, I'd say the only thing that really makes me slightly cautious there is the fact that he's never really popped off against Chicago in the past. But I don't like I don't like NFL matchups against teams. NFL turnover is just way too great each and every year. Teams change, defenses change, players change, schemes change, coaching staffs change. And a guy who could be terrible against a team for 3-4 years, well, coaching changeover, team changeover, maybe a key player's gone, and all of a sudden they catch 15 passes. So I'll take Devontae there over 7.5. Tyreek Hill less 89.5. I think we're both thinking the same thing today. You go ahead and I don't know what your take is. I'm assuming you're less than 89.5 receiving yards after what you said about him.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, this one's leading up to it. You can't have nothing but sure things and locks. And the first few props were to me sure things. And then when you get to Tyreek Hill, this is an interesting one. And I'm telling you under. That's what I think. But we're going to be sweating it out here. It's not going to be ho hum in the second, third quarter. Boom, he's over, and we can sit back. It's going to come down to it. And more than likely, I'm going to go under on Tyreek Hill. No ill will. I wish him the best. I just don't see this being like a massive in-your-face kind of Tyreek Hill blow-up game here. So give me the under, but literally, Mitch, by like 5 to 7 yards.
Yeah, I think the tough part with that one, too, and this is the decision point. I think this is the one that you win or lose on. Honestly, I think the rest of these are kind of easy. Tyreek Hill is because even if he is labored today, maybe doesn't play all the snaps, 50% is one catch. One catch and he's 75 yards like that, So that massive downfield appeal that he can just get over the top before he, retweaks something. It's hard. That's a really tough line. It's always going to be a tough line with Tyreek Hill, no matter what the number is, because on any given day, you can have 280 yards receiving. So nothing's ever out of reach. Jonathan Taylor, 82.5 rushing yards. I think, I'm taking more. I believe Houston's giving up 139 yards per game on the ground. So Jonathan Taylor, more than 82.5. I'm there.
Absolutely. I'm there as well. I think he has a chance here. And if I'm wild or out of line for saying this, then it is what it is. You can kick me out of the broadcast. I think Jonathan Taylor has everything it takes to go over 100 yards receiving and over 100 yards on the ground here. Obviously, for the sake of the bet, absolutely over 100 yards. Just saying it from a grand scheme perspective here, Mitch. Give me the over.
So here's how this works. Once you put in your 5 picks, you pick your money you want invested, whatever the amount it is, $5. You would return 20 times because this is a pick 5 for 5, 20 times your buy-in contest. You could see it right here, prize 125, prize 20. So $5 in, this would be a $100 play. If it hits, you could do $2 bets, make that a super simple $2 investment, not too bad. $40 return gives you some skin in the game. You get to have fun while you watch them. Let's do it's just rapid fire here. We don't need analysis. Let's go to the late slate. And we'll try to have some fun with it. Let's go to a 500 times more or less. This is 10 picks. We'll just quickly go right down the line and just what's your gut feel on it. Let's have some fun with it. And I'll show what type of return of 500 times buy-in looks like. Dak Prescott, more or less 275 against New England.
I'm going to go just a tad less. I don't think he's got to do too much with his arm to get it done today. So I'm going to go under here.
Yeah, I'm under as well on the road against Bill Belichick. No thanks. Minus 275. Mac Jones, 270.5 against Dallas, more or less.
I'm going to, dang it. So 275, I'm going to go over, but it's going to happen by like 4 or 5 yards. Sweating this one out.
I'm going less than 270.5, so I'll leave it right here. That'll be a pick 'em for you guys. Zeke over 82.5 against New England. I'm going more. How about you?
Absolutely more. Guys
Yeah.
on a roll.
DeAndre Hopkins, 74.5 receiving yards at Cleveland. I'm less here, definitely with the wind, and he's just not getting the yardage this year.
Yeah, I'm with you under here.
Kyler Murray, 265.5 passing yards.
I'm going to go under.
Me too. Same reason for DeAndre Hopkins. CeeDee Lamb, 69.5 receiving yards against New England on the road. Where are you?
I'm under. I think he's about 65 to 70 there.
This is going to end up being a pick 'em for the viewers then, because I'm more. I think CD has a big game today. I think he leads the team in receptions, yardage, and receiving touchdowns. Kareem Hunt, 80.5 rushing yards against against the visiting Arizona Cardinals, more or less.
More.
Me too. Derek Carr, 260.5. We're going to get to this game soon. Where are you on this one?
I'm going to go. Dang, they're playing in Denver. I'm going to go under. More.
Okay, this is going to be a pick 'em. 260.5. I've got more today. A little bounce back spot. Teddy B, 245.5 passing yards as they're hosting the visiting Vegas Raiders. Where are you on this one?
I'm going to go under. I think Javonte and Melvin Gordon, 15 carries apiece. Slow it down under.
All right, there's another pick 'em. I'm going more. This is an interesting spot to me. I like this divisional game. Darren Waller, 67.5 receiving yards. Where are you on that one?
I'm going to go over by about 5 or 6 yards, so more.
Yeah, I think he's due for a big one here. Going to get a lot of targets. A crucial element to this stack in this game that I will be talking about. I think we're doing actually next, I believe it is, or maybe 2 games from now, as we move into the afternoon slate of DFS, which is going to be a lot of fun. Listen, the reason why we did them this rapid fire, honestly, this is how you should play them. I don't care what projection systems you use. This is a 10-pick parlay. That's the identical thing. It's picking 10 different player props. So you pick something like this. Now, let's say I just had these just for funsies here, so we can have something on the screen. If you do $2 investment, it returns $1,000. They're such a long shot, which is why you get so much in return. I always invest, $2 or $5, something like that. You can get $2,500 return. I don't feel bad if I lose my $2, my $5. It gives me a lot of skin in the game for all the afternoon games. So if your DFS doesn't go well at 1 o'clock, come over here. You put $2 into one of these. You have got a sweat going for all the 4 afternoon games, I think, or 3 afternoon games. You could feel good about it, and you can have some fun. So there it is. The link is in chat. It's in the YouTube, and you guys can win some serious money if it hits. Again, use promo code DONUTS. Use that link I gave you, and if you use it, you will end up getting a free rest of October using the 10,000 Sims model over there on Sparry. Let's go and slide over to, I'm going to close out Sparry as well. Let's slide over to some of these huge games that are super important to me. LAC and Baltimore today could be potential fireworks, maybe a spot you want to go overweight or underweight. Where are you today, Chris?
Man, this from just a football fan and a DFS aficionado, I'd like to think this game has all the makings to be so exciting. The over-under, it opened at 50, and it's just been bumped up by 1 point here. So I think everybody's going to be talking about Rashad Bateman. $5,000 on FanDuel, only $3,000 on DraftKings. This kid is back in action, activated off the IR. Which way you going to go there? I'd probably hold off first game of his professional career in terms of on the field, aside from preseason here. But to me, I want to talk about Austin Eckler really quick. I believe he is. It's in front of me. $8,400 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, Eckler, $7,900. Baltimore's 27th overall against opposing running backs here. I love this. And for some odd reason, given the matchup, the Chargers are 28th overall against opposing running backs, and I firmly do believe Latavius Murray finds the end zone not once but twice here. Only $5,700 on DraftKings, Murray $5,800 on DraftKings. This one is going to be back and forth. Who has the ball last? I have the final, as I think I said about 5-10 minutes ago, like 30-31, 34-31, something along those lines. So we're going to see 60-plus total points in this one. So I'm starting every player that I can, but be careful. I mean, this game makes for a nice chalk. You can build stacks for chalk purposes, but if you look at the study hub for GPPs, little to no edge to be gained here. That's why you have to pivot from players in the same game to other players in the same game, if that makes sense. I keep running with this idea, but it's yielded some good results here. So, Mitch, I love this game from start to finish from a fan perspective. DFS, I love Austin Eckler and Latavius Murray here.
Oh, nice. I appreciate the insight. Gave me a second to step away and use the bathroom. Here's the deal, fam. So if you guys are playing this game, I actually have some very specific ways I'm going to be stacking this one up. And I'm gonna remove this here. I'm gonna blow up my screen here real quick, just so you can see my ugly mug. I think that this game is potentially the spot where you're going to win a lot of money. And truly, it's how you approach the game stack itself. A lot of people are going to go into this game. I think they're going to do very cookie cutter stacks. They're going to look at doing like multiple guys with Lamar, running it back with multiple from LAC. They're going to focus on all the key names, but they're not going to think about the game flow. I think the way you need to approach this game itself is, how do you envision this game coming to fruition? How do you envision it playing out? Who's going to be scoring the fantasy points in what scenario you project or predict? And how I am seeing this game, I actually posted this in Donuts playbook of how I'm going to be stacking up this game. When I use Lamar Jackson, I think it's very important when you're stacking him, you just choose one guy. There's no important reason, no serious reason to be stacking both Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown, or Rashad Bateman and Marquise Brown, or Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews. I think when you're stacking this game up, you pick one guy. It's mostly been like that throughout Lamar Jackson's career. You pick a guy, you roll with it. And Lamar Jackson, his super value is when he runs the football for 80 yards and a touchdown. So I'm looking at this game and I'm saying to myself, this is a team in the Chargers that don't give up a ton of yards through the air, but they do give up a lot of rushing yards, right? Well, I'm going to be honest. The Baltimore Ravens can't run the football right now. And everybody's been talking about all the week, well, don't use Lamar Jackson, don't use Justin Herbert because of the rushing scenario where Baltimore pounds the rock. Who the heck's pounding the rock? This team has shown that they can't run the freaking football right now. They just can't. No matter who's getting the touches, they can't move the football on the ground, which has made them very one-dimensional, which is why you've seen 780 yards through the air or whatever it is over the last two games from Lamar Jackson. So I love me some Lamar Jackson this week. He's going to be one of my top 3 highest owned quarterbacks across the industry on every single site. I've got $1,250 invested on Yahoo today, and on Yahoo, he is my highest owned quarterback right now. I'm just telling you that right now, and he has $33 over there as well. I'm using Lamar Jackson. I'm stacking him with one of his targets. It doesn't matter which one. I think you could kind of rotate through the 3 today. My goal on the other side, running back with 2 or 3 Chargers. Yeah, that many. So it's Lamar, 1 pass target, and then potentially even 3 Chargers, because what I love about them, my friends, it's fantasy focused, fantasy funneled production. You know it's Austin Eckler. You know it's Keenan Allen. You know it's Mike Williams. And if you don't think Mike Williams is going to be fully healthy today, then slide that exposure over to Jared Cook, because he would become the de facto red zone guy, I think. And Mike Williams, with those NFL leading 6 touchdowns, if he's not going to be out there scoring touchdowns, somebody else has to. It's going to be Keenan. It's going to be Eckler. It's going to be Jared Cook. I think Herbert's going to throw the ball 45 times today. And I think this is going to be a game where you can win a lot of money if you stack it up correctly. It's not going to be so much the Justin Herbert side for me. It's going to be the Lamar Jackson side with 1 pass catcher and then running it back with 2, maybe even 3. And I want a ton of exposure to Austin Eckler in this game. And Keenan Allen on DraftKings at 6.4K. Keenan Allen on Yahoo as well is a little bit cheaper. I think $4 or $5 cheaper than Mike Williams. And I think Mike Williams, if he goes out there as like a decoy role, I'm just going to be underweight on him. We've seen Mike Williams for 5 years now, 5-6 seasons. You know, anytime he is hurt, injured, labored, he's just not a guy who produces. We've seen back injuries for years from Mike Williams. I don't know what his injury is now. I think it might be his knee. We've seen back injuries from years keep Mike Williams from scoring serious points. And I think this is going to be one of those weeks where we are starting to see maybe the pendulum swing back towards Keenan Allen, and his price tag has decreased. Austin Eckler has become a red zone threat in all ways, shapes, or forms. Has a receiving touchdown in 5 out of the last 6 games. Yeah, that's right. You're going back to last season. 5 out of the last 6 regular season games, this guy has scored a receiving touchdown, and he scored a receiving touchdown, I think, in 3 straight games. So what the heck? I mean, Austin Eckler, my favorite guy out of this game, one of my favorite players on the slate, and I'll have a ton of exposure there. Let's slide over to, and I didn't need anything on screen for that. Just kind of wanted to talk about it. The Giants and Rams. I already talked about Devontae Booker, how just another guy who I'm basically just going to be eating some of that salary relief because I continue to be on some of these higher priced players as much as I can be today. You've got the 2 highest priced players, Kenny G and Saquon Barkley, both out today. We got to wait for the inactives list to see what happens with Kadarius Toney and Darius Slayton. I already posted a tweet this morning. Sterling Shepard, 5K. My friends, do not sleep on him. He'll be my highest owned Giants player today outside of Devontae Booker. I've got a ton of exposure to this game. I love stacking up both sides of the ball. I love Daniel Jones Jones today. Hated him last week because he was chalk. I am never using chalk volatile players. We don't use bad chalk here in teamriseorfall.com. Just not something we do. I told everyone, I shouted from the rooftops last week, don't touch Daniel Jones. Hopefully most of our members did not. This is the week I'm saying, use Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones, now that you're not on him, 13% in the Millie Maker last week, I think, or 11% in the Millie Maker. Pass. This week, you're going to get him at 2-3% against the Rams. I think the Rams traveling across the country to New York Giants, this game's going to be a lot closer than you think. I think it could potentially be a little bit higher scoring as well. I think the total opened at like 50.5. I think this one could go much over, and I think the Giants offense could move the football through the air quite a bit today. I think Sterling Shepard is the oil to this engine. I don't think it's Kadarius Toney. I think Kadarius Toney is going to get some of that Jalen Ramsey attention, and I think that rookie might struggle a little bit with Jalen Ramsey's size and length, which means Sterling Shepard could be that guy going back to weeks 1 and 2 that everybody forgot was the person moving the football. Sterling Shepard in week 1, 9 targets, 7 catches, 113 and a score. Week 2, 10 targets, 9 receptions, 94 yards. We return to that at 5K. We're talking 3% or so ownership based on our projections, and we've got a guy who averaged 23.5 fantasy points. Yeah, Sterling Shepard, one of my favorite targets on the slate if you were stacking this game up. Devontae Booker, give me the salary relief. I like this game a lot. Robert Woods on the other side, my favorite target there. Cooper Kupp still just priced way up for me. Where are you in this spot? What are we looking at today between these two teams?
I must say you are on an absolute roll, back to back, just nonstop action, nonstop good stuff, Mitch. So where does that leave me in terms of this game here? Everybody, it looks to be fading the New York Giants from an offensive injury perspective here, if that's even makes sense. But to me, I tweeted out last night in terms of ownership percentage between Matthew Stafford and Tyler Heineke. Now, I know we already went over the Washington football team here, but Heineke is more owned than Matthew Stafford. And given the two, you'd like to think more folks would be on Matthew Stafford, given the game, given his arm, given the offensive talent he has behind him, and, out wide, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods here. So in this game overall, Mitch, you are the first person I've heard all week say, I think that the New York Giants will be able to move the ball through the air. A lot of folks, just at first glance would say, you know what, I want nothing to do with the New York Giants in terms of offense, tight ends and wide receivers here because they're so decimated by injuries. But now we know, look in the chat too. Coach Craig says Darius Slayton is playing. Mitch, you said that Shepard is playing. So again, that opens things up. We don't want to pigeonhole ourselves during the week and we create a disadvantage for ourselves and just look tunnel vision. Hey, I heard this guy say the Giants are injury decimated, so I'm going to fade them. Then we fast forward to Sunday morning right now, and a lot of these guys are back on the field here. So that brings, Daniel Jones back to the top in terms of great plays for quarterbacks. Get it done on the ground with his legs. Maybe he can drop some dimes, aka Daniel Jones Dimes. I think that's his nickname. I probably skewered that, but to me,
Danny Dimes, baby.
Danny Dimes. But to me, you're right. Devontae Booker, $5,900 on FanDuel, only $5,400 on DraftKings. The Rams are 23rd overall against opposing running backs, and that's really the only game in town for them in terms of running the ball. What are you going to do? You're going to put Gary Brightwell out there, I believe, if you look at the depth charts here. So to me, this game is one of, if not my most exciting games here, because again, I think Matthew Stafford just completely dissects this defense here. I would imagine, not saying it's a lock, but if you could put money on it, you'd like to think that Stafford 300 passing yards and 300 passing touchdowns is kind of set in stone here. So why not use, our outlandish opinion to our advantage here? So I absolutely love Matthew Stafford in terms of DFS. But to be fair here, my favorite play on the slate overall in terms of tight ends is Tyler Higbee, the Giants 28th overall against opposing tight ends. Higbee $5,500 on FanDuel, only $4,400 on DraftKings, and Higbee $16 on Yahoo. I'm almost certain, positive, it's crazy that Tyler Higbee finds the end zone once but not twice in this one. So again, I absolutely love Higbee. And again, if this game it's too much for you, not talking to you, Mitch, but anybody that's watching this, if this game is too overwhelming, you don't know which way to go, make it a point, if you're just going to have a one-off at tight end, which is cool, make it a point that it's Tyler Higbee. I'm saying it right now. I can't get enough of this kid today. And again, this game going to be fantastic. I have the Rams winning 28 or 31 to 14 or 17 here. So again, over absolutely in play here. And I do like the Rams given the points as well.
Okay. I think what I was thinking about here, I was trying to look at like the game logs here and what's going on with the London game. It's so funny. So someone was asking me with the Yahoo, they asked if I could leave up, this was last week, if I could leave up the like my money in play for the day and just like leave a stream on so they can see the money going up and down. I thought it was the funniest question I've ever received. They were like, yeah, do like a sweat show where you have your money in play and then it shows. So like what they want me to do is like leave up Yahoo, right? So there's 11:50 in. They want me to leave it up, just leave on the live contest so they can watch it go like up and down throughout the day. It's not comfortable to do that because that, my friends, is so ridiculous. When you watch this stuff go up and down, where'd it go? This was just showing like 314 in winnings. I think Miami might have kicked a field goal. Yeah, Sanders kicked a 24-yard field goal. It dropped down to $84. Like, if that is happening with $75 in play, where it goes from 314 to 84, do you know what it looks like when I have a 1150 in play on the main slate? It goes from like $15,000 one to like losing $800 in a matter of like 10 minutes. I will never do anything like that unless I should not say never. I never want to say I'll never do anything, but that type of thing is like just one of those like uncomfortable scenarios I can't envision myself doing. And I remember getting that message and I was like, he's talking about the game. I'm going to show it up here and watch so people can watch the dramatic swings. It's pretty crazy, dude.
To be honest with you, that's a fantastic idea. And to be fair, I'm kind of bummed out. I didn't think of that, saying, hey, Mitch, do it. A lot of questions throughout the week and just overall, since last year or the year before, in terms of people always refreshing every 2 seconds, your seasonal teams and your DFS lineups. And I wasn't always like this, but I get in a way where if I got a ton of money on FanDuel today, I won't check it until probably Sunday night. Sometimes if I'm doing other stuff, I disconnect and I rest. I won't check it until Sunday morning. And hand to the sky, I'm not kidding, because it can be a weird anxiety-induced kind of thing, and then it doesn't become fun. You're sweating, you're pissed off, you go through, you get manic, you get so scared, and then you get manic. Oh my God, I'm winning 15K, and then literally every second this thing updates here. So I'm just telling folks. I mean, if that's what you find fun, have at it. But for me, I'd rather check it Sunday night when the stuff is over, or Monday morning, to get my week going off on the right move. But yeah, I'm in for that. Leave it up and we'll see. You don't have to watch it. You can have it up on the screen, turn the camera sideways, and then you're with your family resting and watch other people freak out. I would imagine you'd get some good viewership, and obviously the more money you have on, the better. So how crazy would that be?
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. Like if I just leave up the big screen like this, so people see that, I don't want to sit here and like analyze it for 7 hours, the main slate, And also, I don't know, like if I can, if people can hear like the background of, like the red zone and stuff like that. I don't know, like the legality there. I don't know if I can stream it, so I'll look into it. That's it is an interesting suggestion. I've never had it. Somebody asked me, I'm like, the heck, that's actually not a bad idea, but like personally, I don't know if I can handle it. Like seeing the swings is hard enough on my own. Nevertheless, to put it out there and be like, hey, this is happening, win, lose, or draw. Like I might just get straight up like anxiety over it, I'll think about it. Maybe I'll do it today. I think I'm going to throw 100 entries on Superdraft, and I've got those 222 entries or whatever it is on Yahoo. I'll have, I think, 300 on DraftKings, and I'll layer out my money across the 3 sites like that. I don't think I'm doing FanDuel. If I get around to FanDuel, I'll do like a single entry. That's actually an interesting thought, especially after hearing you give your take and a couple people in chat saying,
Mitch, look at Vu Boo in the last 10 comments. Thanks for being here. I would imagine it's Vu Boo, however. He said people tune in to other people eating. I know that's a thing. And you know what's big right now? Again, we're older men. You have families and we have careers and all that stuff. But I know right now in the younger crowd of folks, like on TikTok and social media, it's everybody, they live their life and everything is put up to a vote. Hey, I'm going out for lunch. Where do you think I should go? And the person, me, let's say, would have to listen to the viewer. If they vote, you have to go eat a rat out of the sewer, then that's what I have to do.
What are you watching?
I'm not kidding. I see it all the time on the news and social media. So it wouldn't be a bad idea, but you'd have to dial it in. And I'm more than happy to help you here. We could pop in every
Yeah,
once in a
maybe we'll
while.
pop in and out. That'd be kind of funny. You're gonna be at the game today, but maybe we could do that for like showdown slate or something sometime. A little donuts and BC sweat show. That'd kind of be fun, actually. Now that we're thinking about it.
Because nothing is, I mean, the initial reaction, the emotion, that I mean, that's as good as it gets, and that's as like dialed into, genuine as it gets. I mean, we can check our line Sunday night, and yeah, I put in $1,000 and I won 30 grand. Oh yay! But when you see it all happening in front of you, the human emotion and the initial reaction is what people are after. You can connect with other people just
Look
on
at this.
emotions alone.
Yeah, chat likes the idea. Maybe you and I can touch base on this another time. We could text each other. I think something fun we could both do is like, market it for, the Monday Night Football video. Like Mitch and BC will be there for tune into our sweat show or something. So we'll have, and actually you can share your screen. So we could probably have it up so everybody can see everybody's money in play or lineups in play. And by the way, I honestly don't think the fun aspect would be them seeing, like total today, I'll probably have about $3,000 in play. Okay. I don't think that's the fun aspect. I think what you said is the fun aspect. They want to see us. They want to see the reaction.
Yes.
Right. And how we handle the ups and downs of it all. More so than like the money in play. I think, who the heck cares about that in 2021? Like, everybody has their own amount in play, and I think what they see on screen is probably irrelevant. Who knows? Maybe I'm off base. 2 games left. Let's look at them. Vegas and Denver, and I said this one's going to be a spot where I think is worth stacking up, and I'm going to tell you this why. It's not because of the teams. It's not because of the matchups. It's because we know who the fantasy scorers are. We've got Josh Jacobs getting all the touches. We've got Darren Waller hopefully getting all the touches. We know Hunter Renfrow is the next guy in the pecking order. On the other side of the ball, we know it's Sutton. We know it's Tim Patrick, who had 9 targets last week. And we know it's Noah Fant. The running backs, they're splitting. They're taking away from each other. So I think this is one of those games where, similar to Houston and Indy, the spot might not be as sexy as some of the other ones, but the fantasy funneled production is there. We know the key players. We know their price tags are affordable. And when you're able to stack up a game like that, much like we did with Houston and Indy, we both had, some stacks in that game that we both liked. If that stack pops off, you are sitting pretty, my friend, because you've only invested maybe 20K into the stack and you've still got $30,000 left over for your other 5 spots, 6 spots. And you can, especially punting at defense or something, as well. And now all of a sudden you got $27,000 for 5 or 4 positions left. I mean, you're using stud after stud after stud to finish your lineup, and you give yourself a massive scoring ceiling if your low owned cheaper stack pops off. So that in and of itself is why I have exposure to this game. I have exposure to both Carr and Bridgewater. And I think that this could be a game that if, the key players, the cheap players pop off, you have a chance to make some serious loot. If your studs centered, or revolving around that stack actually go off, the Devontae Adams, Delvin Cook, Travis Kelce scenario, then heck, you're sitting pretty for the main slate, especially for like a million maker. Do you have any interest in this game?
Yeah, absolutely. From a real life perspective, everybody knows what has happened in Vegas with their head coach and all that. I'm not here to talk about right and wrong and how awful all this stuff was, but I know from a fantasy perspective, from a DFS perspective, what's going on between this game can be spun to a few things. One thing I've noticed all week, a lot of folks are talking about Vegas just being, flat, demoralized. Their head coach is gone. But then in the same breath, well, or are they pumped, they're amped, they got rid of the guy and everything is going to be good and they're going to play, for themselves and let everybody know we're all right and we're going from there. Well, again, storylines, it's a big deal for what we're doing right now. We engage with the, people watching and listening to this. But from a real life football perspective and in DFS, it has no bearing, all the good and the bad, and that has really no bearing here. But to me, I love this game. I've already locked it in. I put a couple $500 on the over in this one. Vegas at Denver, the over-under, I believe it opened at 44.5, and it's dipped down just a half point. 44 total points. I think that's just a dream given the matchup in this one. From a DFS perspective, I'm with you 100%. I love Derek Carr to a certain extent. I know in the underdog fantasy, I said under, but that's fine. Under yardage, but he can still throw 2-3 touchdowns here. I believe Teddy Bridgewater is at the helm, and he's going to do a couple things. Again, I love Noah Fant. He is one of, aside from Tyler Higbee, as I said last game, I have Higbee for an anytime touchdown. I have Noah Fant for an anytime touchdown, and then I parlayed both of them together for an anytime touchdown for like another 50 or 60 bucks. So I've kind of, I guess I'll just go out and say it right now. This week alone, I found more interest in more money in the sports book side of things than the DFS side of things. And I know that's normal, but it happened naturally and organically. So again, this game is fantastic from a betting perspective. Take the over, get Noah Fant, only $5,800 on FanDuel, only $4,800 on DraftKings, and Noah Fant for an anytime touchdown. In terms of the overall, feel of this game, I don't know, but I'm very interested in divisional rivals. They hate each other. They're in Denver at Mile High, so it could go either way from a Denver or a Vegas point of view. So why not just, settle for the over instead of just dialing in one of these two teams? So I'm with you for the most part, Mitch.
Well, you were talking about that. I was listening in. I was also trying to figure this stuff out. I'm new to YouTube, right? There's a couple months. This is maybe our 5th or 6th YouTube stream together.
I saw what you did. I was hoping nothing nasty popped up.
No. Check this out. So I figured out a way where instead of having to sit here and be like, hey, hit the like button, I'm just going to organically, quietly just put happy. That makes me so happy.
That's fantastic.
I feel so uncomfortable sitting here being like, hey, guys who are already investing their time here, if you could just please hit the like button. I don't want to have to ask people that. I can't stand that. I see it on every stream.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just it feels so awkward for me to grovel for likes and stuff. So maybe I'll just quietly just push that button. Let's look at this last game, Minnesota, Carolina. We'll open it up to a little Q&A. People can ask questions for lineup building. We've got another interesting game. And, again, that phrase I've been using today, I guess term of a focused fantasy production where where all those fantasy points are going. You've got another one, okay? You've got Chuba Hubbard, DJ Moore, and that's kind of where the points are going to go from Sam Darnold if he has himself a good day. On the other side, Kirk Cousins, it's Delvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. Yes, KJ Osborne, Tyler Conklin. These guys will get some targets and some points here and there, but you've got a lot of fantasy focused production. 53% of all targets are going to Thielen and Jefferson. Delvin Cook, when he's there, if he's healthy and he's off the injury report finally, first time since week 2. I see no reason why Delvin Cook does not get fed. We saw a game last year, and I can't remember which game it was. Delvin Cook was he was injured in week 6 and 7 maybe, and then he came out in week 8. Here it is, Green Bay. He came out and he had 32 touches, 226 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Could that happen again today? I mean, that's a big ask. But I think the same scenario could happen where he comes out and people are concerned about his injury, even though he's off the injury report. And he comes out and he gets 25, 30 touches, and he's the reason why Minnesota wins the football game at Carolina. Good defense who's playing well this year. I like Delvin Cook a lot. Now, you can see in my initial crunches, I'm going to show you this now. In my initials, his projection was very low, okay? It was like 9 points or something because I thought he'd be part-time. With the updated projection of 18.47, when I rerun this, I can tell you now, I think that's the 3rd highest on the slate. It's only behind Austin Eckler. He is going to be much higher owned. I'm going to go out of my way to make sure I get Austin Eckler in my stacks with Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert. I'm going to make sure I have Delvin Cook a lot as one-offs, and I'll probably slide a little bit of that Kareem Hunt exposure to both of them, and then just go from there. So you can see in the initial crunches that I did, the initials were on Thursday. I did Khalil Herbert and Kareem Hunt just a ton. But now I have a lot more interest in some other players. Jonathan Taylor is one of them as well. His projection increased as well, and I think he's going to feast against Houston, a team that just can't stop the run, a team he has played very well against in his other 2 games. So I'm going to reallocate some of my exposures, and that's how I'll probably do so. Last game here, where are you in this spot? And where are your stacks today, if you have any in this game?
Yeah, to me, it's I'm going to stack Carolina to a certain extent, and I'll be honest with everybody here. As a Detroit Lions guy, NFC North fan, I just cannot stomach anything Minnesota Vikings. I mean, I respect Green Bay and Chicago, but there's something about the Minnesota Vikings. I avoid them like the plague here, and I know that that would be kind of, that wouldn't be that would be negligent of me as a DFS writer or broadcaster to let my personal issues get in the way here. But more times than not, I can look at something, especially Minnesota, and go, well, this is why I don't like them. And I'll tell you here, Carolina, the over-under in this one, I believe it opened at it opened at 47, and it's down to 45 and a half here. So it came down a full point and a half here. Excuse me, let me clear my throat really fast if you don't mind. All this talking's got my voice hoarse, and here we are drinking coffee. Next time I should put a hunk of butter in my coffee. I heard people do that all the time. It helps kind of, get your throat and your mouth lubricated, if that makes any sense. Sounds weird to me. But when we get to Minnesota at Carolina, as I said, opened at 47. It's now at 45 and a half. I just messaged in the chat, which I love to do now, DJ Moore. I'm head over heels with DJ Moore this afternoon. The Minnesota Vikings, they're 13th overall against opposing wide receivers. DJ Moore, $7,600 on FanDuel, $7,300 on DraftKings. And I asked everybody in the chat, just answer me back. Has DJ Moore finally gotten over that touchdown hump? We've seen the last few seasons, he's a lock for 1,213 total yards at the end of the season, but he's always at 4 or 5 total touchdowns. I believe we're there, and the touchdowns will start to come in droves here. In terms of the Minnesota side of things, I've never been, and this is going to be crazy, but I've continued to say this. I haven't wavered from my opinion here. Dalvin Cook he's always bothered me, not from a person perspective, no ill will here, but he had that really good season. I believe it was last year where he went nuts. He's an RB1. He's a top 5 guy. But again, I firmly believe that we've seen Dalvin Cook peak as an NFL running back. So how do we use that to our advantage in DFS formats? Well, he was out the last 2 weeks. Mattinson, did very well in his absence. But we look here, I know Mitch mentioned, the 32 carries is a tough ask, looking back through his game log here. But I have Dalvin Cook for a solid, I would say anywhere between 18 to 20 total carries in this one. He's averaged 4.4 yards a carry so far this season. So what does that mean for Alexander Mattinson? Does that relegate Mattinson back to the bench? And again, if you have Dalvin Cook as your starting running back, that leaves little to no room for the other running backs on the depth chart here. But again, we saw this last year and the year before. Cook is out, Mattinson gets a ton of run, and then you would think, well, Mattinson, he's earned some sort of respect. Mattinson's earned some kind of role. But when Dalvin Cook is healthy and active, there's room for no other running backs on that roster here. So to me, Dalvin Cook is still he's a fade for me, just given his price tag. $8,800 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, Cook is $7,700. And when you look at, I know Mitch always says it, and I tend to agree here, but DVP, defense versus player, it's only a small piece of the puzzle here. But Carolina is first overall against opposing running backs. And again, if this was Derrick Henry, that's a different story. But Dalvin Cook, I mean, that scares me a little bit. So if you look at what I said, Derrick Henry, let's just pencil him in. 19 carries, about 86 yards. That would be 4.4 yards a carry. I don't think he finds the end zone here. So to me, Dalvin Cook is a fade, given ownership percentage, given his price here. So I'm going to put all my chips in on Sam Darnold, DJ Moore, and maybe sprinkle in a little bit of Tommy Tremble. That's who I mentioned in bottom of the barrel here. And again, Chuba Hubbard, look at his ownership percentage, 8.1% on DraftKings. On FanDuel, Chuba's at about 7%, which is fantastic. So give me a full-blown Carolina stack. As I said, Sam Darnold, Chuba Hubbard, DJ Moore, and just throw a coin at the wall. And I would prefer Tommy Tremble at tight end here, Mitch.
I appreciate the analysis, my dude. So here's the deal. It's 11 o'clock. I know you're going to the Detroit game today. If you wanted to bounce, by all means, you can bounce if you'd like. Here's what I'm going to do, just because we finished the stream at a real good time, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I want to do something fun. Underdog Fantasy is something I love playing, okay? it's that's no secret. I had 100-something lineups this past August. I had at one point showing them on streams as well. I had 97 best ball drafts going at one time. It was a lot of fun. I'm enjoying myself. But they also have Pick'em over there, which is a lot of fun. It's very similar to what we showed on Monkey Knife Fight, where it's props, it's player props. Who the heck does not like player props? It's like a really fun new way to play, DFS sports betting, kind of mix and match it. And I like this stuff. I enjoy it immensely. So if you want to bounce, Chris, and I know you've got the game and everything you got to get to, by all means, please feel free to make a run for it.
I'm in it to win it. I said I got a parking spot reserved. My seat, everything is there. So again, it only takes me 15, 20 minutes. Hop on I-94, boom, I'm downtown. So I'm good to go. Let's hang out.
Okay, well, let's take a peek here. Let's put together a couple picks. I want to just have some fun here. And anybody who's looking at the screen right now, I threw up this old Underdog Fantasy promo thing that we have. Promo code Donuts, give you a free draft kit, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, if you use that now, they'll still match they'll give you an instant $25 deposit. So you literally just use promo code Donuts. You deposit, I think, $10, and they give you 25. So all of a sudden, just like that, you'll have 35 in your account. So you can play today and have some fun with this stuff. It's a lot of fun. After we do this right here, I think it would be a good time to open it up to Q&A. And I want to help people like Vu here and DePrince and people asking questions on using FC. And I'll open it up. And if that's when you want to bounce, go for it. And I'll help them use a fantasy cruncher. I'll help them with the tools. I'll help them with any, pick this guy versus this guy and start sits, questions, whatever they might be. I can take care of that. No problem.
I'm here. I'm in it to win it. Let's answer some questions, and this underdog fantasy stuff is very, very interesting to me. So no place I'd rather be, Mitch. Let's hang for another 15, 20 minutes.
Let's do it, brother. Okay, so let's go here. And what I'm kind of going to do here is it's just, I went to the underdog site, and I went to the Pick'em category, clicked NFL. They got over under here. You can do rivals, which is really cool. And then what you can do is favorite them. So if like you want to pick ones you're interested in, you want to go back and study and figure out, what your picks are for, maybe you're like, oh, Joe Mixon, that line 73.5. You click the favorite button. Jamar Chase, 80.5 yards. Okay. And then you go click favorites, or maybe then you also like, Jared Goff, 24 completions, whatever. So you click favorites, and then all the ones you've clicked here for the players, they pop up. So if you're like, well, I want to look at the Joe Mixon lines, I want to look at Jamar Chase lines, I want to look at Jared Goff lines, you click a favorite on them, and then all of theirs pop up. So if you ever have like a significant lean on any one player for the day, and you've got your projections up for Jamar Chase, you could do that and then go and look at all of the picks here for those players. So let's go ahead and do a few of these players in some of these games here. We'll do rivals because I think it's just easier to pick like a player versus a player rather than go through the over-unders and go through all of these players. I mean, look at all these. We could sit here all day trying to find the best props for the day. There's PGA and everything. So we could sit here all day to figure out. So let's do the rivals. And we'll try to pick a few here. Anything on the screen here that you're like, yeah, I like this one a lot. And what it means by this is like, here's the passing yards. Do you think Joe Burrow can have more passing yards today than Jared Goff, who gets 29.5 to start with?
Absolutely, yes. Joe Burrow, big time game today, Cincinnati in general. So, yeah, I love that one.
All right, so we picked Joe Burrow. Here it is. And I've got Joe Burrow here, and what you do is you pick him, and then as soon as we pick one more, and let's say we have Travis Kelce more than Tyreek Hill, maybe you think Tyreek Hill's knee is going to be an issue, you plug in Travis Kelce. You think he has more receiving yards today. This is a guy who had, I believe, 100 yards receiving, 11 out of the last 13 regular season games coming in this past week. Did not hit that mark again, so 11 out of 14. Here we are, Travis Kelce. You can take him. You think he has more? Boom. Now, right there, you've got a 2-pick parlay. You could say, I think this is a good pick, and you return 3 times your investment. So $5 in returns 15. If you go through here and you're like, oh, wow, there's a couple other I really like today, like maybe Heineke, 54.5 yards passing against Mahomes. Like maybe Heineke, you think can beat him there. Or maybe Justin Jefferson versus DJ Moore. Let's see if we can find a good third one to add in here. And then we'll make it a 6 times play, right? So
sure.
That's how easy it is. And then you add a 4th pick, and all of a sudden you get 10 times your return. 5 picks, a 5-pick parlay, you return 20 times your investment. So let's see if we can find another really Good one. Oh,
I did
here's
notice
one.
that Michael Pittman one. That's interesting to me.
Which one?
Michael Pittman, yeah, right there.
Brandon Cooks?
Given the matchup, I would prefer. I know a lot of folks are on Brandon Cooks today. If you look at the chat throughout the broadcast here, a lot of folks are on Brandon Cooks here. But to me, I love the idea of Michael Pittman here, who is now without a doubt their wide receiver one, and then you team it with Wentz and Jonathan Taylor. I know you're looking at that there. I love Michael Pittman as our third bet here.
All right, so Michael Pittman, I put him in there, getting more receiving yards. They're giving him 3.5 to start as well. I was looking at Jonathan Taylor versus Mark Ingram. I think Taylor, that's a great one. I mean, Ingram, you're looking at 30, 40 yards per game here. Jonathan Taylor, who I think is due for another 100-yard rushing game. I don't care what you think here. Darius Leonard on defense, by the way. The Colts stopped the run. With Darius Leonard on the field, the Colts stopped the run. Mark Ingram already not running the football well. So I'm going to go ahead and add Jonathan Taylor there in that same game. And now we've got 4 picks already. This has turned into a 10 times your return. We'll get one more pick, give out a freebie here. Let's see if we can find a real good one where we have a significant lean here. Oh, this is a good one to me. Justin Fields passing yards. They're giving him 69.5 passing yards. Aaron Rodgers on the other side. You know, Justin Fields, especially when you go look at his passing yards right now, and I'll go sort by salary because I know he's down here at 51, 56. Where is he? Oh, let's see here. What is his price tag? Is he excluded? Oh, I have him excluded. Oops, yeah, $5,100. So 209 passing yards a couple weeks ago, 111 last week. And then Aaron Rodgers, who is like a shoe-in for
260.
Anybody's names today. This is bad. Rodgers. There we go. R-O-D. Aaron Rodgers, 248 and 344. I mean, I mean, you'd have to give Justin Fields 100 yards before I felt comfortable taking Justin Fields, that prop right there. So I'm going Aaron Rodgers as that final one since it's my money in play. And I am playing this live. What the heck? Why not? I feel good about it. So my $5 there is a $100 return if this one hits. Final play, you guys can see it here in a second. We have Joe Burrow, more passing yards than Jared Goff, even though Goff is getting 29.5 receiving or passing yards. Travis Kelce, more receiving yards than Tyreek Hill. Michael Pittman, more receiving yards than Brandon Cooks. Jonathan Taylor, more rushing yards than Mark Ingram with 50.5. And then Rodgers, more passing yards than Justin Fields with 69.5. If you wanted to see it, there you go. So there's my link. If you wanted to look at it, see how it works, I'll post it in chat. Go ahead and use that. Use promo code Donuts. You guys can get a hookup over there. They'll give you 25 instant dollars into your account. All right, let's do it. Anybody has questions with FC, please fire off your FC questions. If you have any start-sit questions, anything like that for us, now's your time to ask. And if nothing comes in the next minute or two, we are going to bounce. And we'll enjoy our Sunday, get prepared for our main slate lineups, and you should do the same. So anything that you have to ask, by all means, go ahead and fire off your questions, your inquiries, and we'll help you out right now. DePrince is asking Swift today. I'll let you answer that one, Detroit Beastie, since you are the Detroit.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. DeAndre Swift, when you look at what's going on there today, Cincinnati's in town, and personally, whenever I get start-sit questions or player A versus player B, I like to give my personal projections and rankings for each player. So, who is it? DePrince. Grab a pen really quick and let's work through this together briefly. I have DeAndre Swift for about a dozen carries, a solid 50 yards or so, just over 4.12 yards a carry here. I have him for about, this is where he's going to make his hay here, about 5 or 6 receptions for another 50 or 60 yards, and he finds the end zone there. And if you look at his price tag on both sites, DeAndre Swift, $7,100 on FanDuel, and then on DraftKings, let me bring it up here. He is $6,300 on DraftKings. And Cincinnati, they're 21st overall against opposing running backs, but they are 19th overall against opposing wide receivers, which again, I think Swift makes a lot of moves and hay, as I put it, against them as a pass catcher here. So yes, absolutely, DeAndre Swift is in play.
Yeah, I think he's in play as well. I like him a little bit more on DraftKings. FanDuel, a little bit more touchdown dependent. That touchdown equity is everything over there. Can you bank on it? I'm not sure. Will I have exposure to him? Sure. If I play on FanDuel, I might. But honestly, I want my exposure to him on like DraftKings, a little bit more so. Probably Superdraft, a fine spot to play him as well. Listen, so check that out. CG says, yeah, Swift is in all his core. So go with him. Go with these two who like him more than I do. Will the Chiefs be too chalky? Asked Steve. We covered that one for about 10 minutes in the middle of the stream. I would go back, rewind it about an hour ago. When this stream ends, you can see our full breakdown and take on how to build lineups for that Chiefs game. Very specific take that we both had and strategy involved in that game. So that is definitely worth covering. Is McKissick a good value play today? I think McKissick, you use him in larger game stacks, right? And probably on the other side. So you're saying Patrick Mahomes goes bonkers, those 4 or 5 touchdowns. Well, then, yeah, what happens on the other side? And maybe Antonio Gibson's off the field quite a bit in the second half. They're throwing the football a ton. McKissick gets drop-offs, dump-offs. We're not seeing it happen the way we saw last year. So you could use him in like large field tournaments, but outside like a Millie Maker, maybe the $9 slant, the $5 flea flicker, things like that on DraftKings, I really have no interest at all. And even in those, I don't have much interest in him for today. So, Gerald, appreciate that. Thank you very much, man. I thought it was a good show, too. A lot of fun. If you could hit that like button for us on your way out for the 50, looks like 89 people watching live, 58 people likes. Just hit the like button on your way out. Totally helpful for us long-term as a company. Allows us to keep our price tag at less than $1 a day. I'm going to go ahead and show it on stream here because why not? I can. This is the subscribe page, and this is a show that tells you what we're all about. What's up, Trey? Good to see you, dude. We are actually just about to bounce. We did a couple different props, pick sites. We did sports betting. We looked at my exposures on DraftKings. We did Yahoo. We looked at all sorts of things. FC, we ran the gamut. We did a full game breakdown. So it's about that time. Hubbard or Jacobs? Chuba Hubbard for me, absolutely today. I just like the offense a little bit more. I think that if you use Jacobs, you can use him as like a bring back option with your Teddy Bridgewater stacks. We saw him getting some snaps out of the backfield last week on passing downs, which was a new one for me. So by all means, go for it. Anyways, you guys can check out our projection models. We have 4 full-time professional players put together, live final seats, a dozen live final seats, dozens of 5 and 6 figure wins, full player pools, player cores, models, Discord chat. We do all sorts of private things. Here's the DFS homepage. If you want to see what it all is, and you guys can do this by all means. Study Hub, projections page, trends page, DraftKings tools, FanDuel stacks, all sorts of private stuff for the content wise. And if you go look at the NFL, and it's not, for whatever reason, it's not on the DFS homepage, but the research page now, we added a bunch of research stats for you stat junkies who love this stuff. Stat leaders, red zone leaders, advanced stats, trends. It's all there. We probably should add it to the NFL homepage here in time, but it's there on the drop-down tab. We continue to make things for you all. If you have not seen the flow chart, this is a brand new single entry lineup building thing, so that we have this thing where it's like you start your lineup here, you go flow chart from here to here, and it helps you make your decisions. All sorts of really cool stuff inside our company. It's there for less than $1 a day, and I'm bearing the lead. The greatest part about it, the website you see me bouncing back and forth on, the website you see me do 5 hours of streaming per week for Fantasy Cruncher. You get $20 to use on FC every single week. So grab that link. It's down below in the description section as well. If you want to check out the 10,000 Sims betting model, again, all graded bets. What's the record again? 61-33. Let me show you again. Here's some of my notes. How funny is that? The betting model, 61-33 plus 32.4 units on the season. If you liked it and you want to try it out today, it's patreon.com/Sparry. You guys can check it out. 64.9% win rate on all graded bets, 32.4 units, plus 32.4 units on the season. If you just play only graded bets, blindly play them. 10,000 simulations model. It's all the rage. Everybody loves that stuff. So check that out. That is also down below description section. Final question here. I will let you take it, Chris, and then you can let us head off, lead us off, kick us off for the main slate, and head us into the weekend, my dude, and then go enjoy that Detroit game.
Yes, so if you look at the question, Jay Brown, 764, really fast. Would I stack Darrell Williams with Mahomes? Not necessarily. There's a lot of other running backs kind of in that same price point, even a little bit cheaper, that I would prefer. Again, wouldn't fault you if you wanted to do that. I'm just leaning another direction. Now, before we get out of here, of course, I want to say thank you to everybody that watched the stream, that continues to watch the stream. And I'd like to think that I speak for Mitch as well when I say all the support, that I and he and everybody here receives on a weekly and daily basis in terms of our content and our broadcasting is unbelievably fantastic. All the questions and the comments on YouTube and social media, I very much appreciate that, and I love everybody who comments and shares. I mean, I ask for it. Let's get some constructive criticism going here, or say, hey, I love what you're doing, or I wish you would cut out this and add a little bit more of that. As a man, I can take that kind of not abuse, but I can take that kind of criticism, as I put it. So thank you for all the support so far. Even today, it's just hundreds and hundreds of comments rolling in. I thank you. And before we split, I always want to leave folks with a little bit of like philosophy, something that we can kind of sink our teeth into to propel us to this coming week, Monday and the rest of today. I want to say, take a chance, take a risk in whatever you're doing, whether it be real life or your fantasy life. In DFS formats, take a risk and build a wild lineup. Put $1 or $2 on it in a GPP, something along those lines. Again, DFS and fantasy sports, it's all about risk reward. What are you willing to what are you willing to risk to see it pay off at the end? And in real life, same exact thing. If you're a single man or a single woman, take a risk. Ask a guy out, ask a girl out, because nothing grows in comfort. If we stay home, if we don't, we want to get uncomfortable, that's not a good emotion. People think, I act silly, I make bad choices, and it just overall doesn't make me feel good. I'm telling you now, if you take a chance, take a risk, and get out of your comfort zone, therein lies all the reward, as I said, risk reward. So comfortability, that's good. If you're laying around the house on an October Sunday afternoon, it's raining, the weather is turning, stay home and comfy in a blanket. But I'm saying emotionally, take a risk, take a chance. And I'm telling you, on the other side of that, that's where the good stuff begins here. So I appreciate everybody. Have a fantastic Sunday. This is where we're starting to get into it. Week 6 of the NFL season. This is where, people are made and things go from there. We're starting to get into the meat of the season. So I appreciate everybody for being here. Make sure you go check out the website, Team Rise or Fall, like, share, subscribe. You know the deal. I'm Chris Robin at Detroit Beastie, and for me and Mitch at DFS and Donuts, thanks so much, and we will see you the same time next week. Bye.